I saw it on the internet. It was like a movie or something. Maybe that's what it was. I saw it somewhere.
Oh, it's not a crazy idea.
Well, sometimes
A lot of people have.
Or we would have
A
never.
lot of billionaires passed on.
some
Okay, all right, we'll talk. Go do your thing.
Not the same type of situation.
No, sir. No, sir. It's been an eye. And I yeah, there was. Yes, I did.
Live near the water, you can get wet.
Where's the police? You can't get up there.
Minerals was built in a interesting How you doing? How you doing? I know. I'm in engineering. So. Hello, Mr. Kelly.
Hi, John McCall, Channel 3 News.
I'm Rob McCracken, working engineer.
Oh, okay.
Indeed, indeed. Well, I appreciate it. I tried. Okay. Okay. Yes. That's weird how they keep saying that because that's not the only place they do that to me. What's going on with this pipe? Oh, we don't have anything on there. Like, oh, it's a drainage. You're in here right away. Yeah. I gotta look into that. Do you remember that guy's name? Stephen Duncan? Right, yeah, he's James Duncan works for me. Yeah, he's my deputy. Right. Yeah, we gotta figure out. Right. See, that's why. Yeah, it's not a drainage system. So that's the weird thing. Yeah.
Escambia County Redevelopment Agency regular meeting November 4th, 2021, 4 o'clock p.m. Please turn your cell phone to vibrate, silence, or the off setting. Board of County Commissioners allows any person to speak regarding an item on the agenda. The speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Is there proof of publication?
Yes, this meeting has been properly published through the Escambia Sun Press on October 28, 2021.
Are there any speakers for public forum?
No, sir.
Thank you. Technical and Public Service Consent Agenda.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Recommendation concerning Community Redevelopment Agency meeting minutes, September 2nd, 2021. It's the only item under Technical and Public Service for review and approval.
Chair will entertain a motion for the Technical and Public Service Consent Agenda.
Move the technical public service
We
agenda.
have a motion.
Second.
A second, please vote, raise your hand. That passes with Commissioner Bender and Begosh and Commissioner Berry and Underhill off the dais. Budget and Finance Consent Agenda.
Two items under Budget and Finance. First one's recommendation concerning residential rehab grant program funding and lien agreements. There's a Part A and Part B for your review and approval.
Do you have any speakers, Mr. Chairman?
None that have been presented to me.
Yes, sir.
Then I'd move the item A and B in the affirmative.
We have a motion and second, please vote. That passes with Commissioner Bender and Commissioner Begosh and Commissioner Berry and Underhill off the dais. Mr. Director.
Second and final item, recommendation concerning residential roof program funding and lien agreements. There's also a Part A and Part B for your review and approval.
How are we doing on the roof program? What's our waiting list on the roofing program right now?
We're still serving folks as they come in. The waiting list is not very long since we have the new fiscal year funding.
Oh, so there's opening, do you know how many people we have on the list at this point?
We're serving them as soon as they come in, sir.
So there's none in the queue that are waiting. Everybody that's applied is,
That's correct.
okay, well, that's new. But that's good. We'll entertain a motion for recommendation concerning the residential roof program.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Berry, second by Commissioner Begosh. Please vote. Commissioner Bender, Begosh, and Berry, and May, all in favor. Commissioner Underhill off the dais. That passes.
Nothing further, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any items for discussion? If not, we stand adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. All right. Board, I think if we're expeditious with our speakers tonight, we can keep them at 3 minutes and come in at the 5 o'clock start time. Sure.
Right, yeah, let's do it. I know that you'll be honored tonight in the Hall of Fame, and it is my desire to be there to support you.
I appreciate that.
Commissioner Bender, so I'll be leaving at the time that you exit as well.
Okay, thank you. Ricky Sapp, and then Margaret Hostetter.
How many speakers do we have, Mr. Chairman?
We're about 16 right now, 17.
Are we doing?
3 minutes, or you want to go 2 minutes?
Well, I'd say anything I get now, we'll just go to 2, but we'll see. I mean, we'll try, we'll make it work and see what we can.
I think if we're going to have that closing time, it's
Yeah,
important that we
it's gonna be
start at
tight,
5.
so. All right, Mr. Sapp.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak today. I don't know anybody here, you guys, but anyway, I'm here for the tree ordinance about the heritage tree that was lost. I'm a talker, I can talk for hours, so I'm going to try to rush this through. I wrote this down as quick as I could. But the importance of trees. Trees are extremely vital to human life. Trees are the biggest plants on this planet. They give us oxygen, store carbon, stabilize the soil, and gives life to all animals. When I was in grade school in 1967, I went to Bellevue Elementary School. And in the 3rd grade for English class, we had to learn a poem called Trees. It was written by Joyce Kilmer in 1913. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of him or not, but his poem became so famous after he was killed during World War I in Germany. But it's called Trees. It goes, I think I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that in the summer may wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with the rain. But poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. Okay, his poetry was influenced by religion, faith, and other natural beauty of the world. If you take his poem and try to understand what it means, I personally feel that it believes that the overall meaning of this poem is a message that all humans need to respect the natural works of art found on the earth, such as trees and forms of natural life. So in your future issues about trees, please respect all trees as much as possible. Like Joyce Kilmer said, only God can make a tree. Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret Hostetter, followed by Kelly Moore.
Margaret Hostetter, 1500 Dogwood Place. After all of the supposed interest and concern, the tree was removed Saturday, the day before Thanksgiving, despite the fact that legal action is underway where hopefully a decision would have been made to save the tree. So there's a big amount of concern about not only the loss of the tree, but the loss of the opportunity to have the legal process go forward and possibly save it. Today, I come to explain to you for the third time in a row that when I asked on August 19th why Director Horace Jones had overridden his staff's recommendation, which would have spared the tree, required the developer to build in a different way, Commissioner May asked him to come forward and explain. And so that explanation is a quote here from Director Horace Jones of the Development Services Department, who issued the development order allowing the tree, 85-inch heritage oak tree, to be removed along with 16 other protected trees unless the development order were overturned. And so Director Jones said, in answer here at the podium to Director May's question, he said the site was reviewed per the language of the Land Development Code, the plain language of the code as written. There was consultation with the Environmental Resource Management Department, and based upon the review of the language, it met the requirements of the development order to be issued. Commissioner May asked, who reviewed it, Horace? And Director Jones answered, it was reviewed by my staff. Today I filed an official ethics code violation saying that Director Jones' statements were contrary to the facts, the data, and such that I had presented to you both last October 14th and the 21st at the public forum when I spoke on the matter then. So there is an investigation which will be undergoing to determine whether Horace Jones lied in answer to the direct question from Commissioner May.
Thank you,
because
Margaret.
he did overturn the staff's recommendation.
Kelly Moore, followed by Luis Ritz.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Madam Counsel, is there an active ethics code violation investigation on Director Jones at this moment?
So there was an email that did come in, I believe it was today, actually, that did come in from Ms. Hostetter. I indicated that under your current ethics policy, your HR director is your first-tier ethics review officer, and that is as far as it has gotten today, is that email exchange.
So it has been officially filed, is my question.
Well, under the county's process, I would consider an email to be sufficient for us to review and follow our internal policy.
And that's fine. I just wanted to, because obviously it's in my district, and I would like to comment on the speakers, but if it's an active investigation,
It
I would
is-
not be able to respond to
I would
any
say
comment.
that effective the receipt of that email, there is an investigation that would be considered ongoing until a resolution or answer has been provided by your ethics officer.
And that's fine, Mr. Chairman, and although that's in my district and this has been a sensitive issue, I would be unable to respond to any statements today because it's an active investigation. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly?
Kelly Moore, 1500 Dogwood Place. Glad to see you could join us tonight, Doug. You usually don't make many of these. You know, the public, you don't like to hear from the little people, I'm sure. Metaphorically speaking, I'm going to use a big word like you do too, Doug, in a sentence. That oak tree that was cut down had one of the largest beehives in Escambia County history hanging in it. Most of y'all don't even know that. I just found out today, or I've been realizing it for a while. And those little bees are all those voters that I think all y'all except for that one are probably going to run for re-election. And those bees are flying everywhere. Am I not wrong with everybody out here? They're flying everywhere, and they're mad as hell. They're hornets. There was almost 6,500 of them signed a petition to save the tree. And you know there was a lawsuit filed, and then Horace Jones Still gave them a permit to cut the tree down the other day. I heard September 28th. I heard last week also from the off-duty cop that was there on Saturday. It's funny, though, he brought in an off-duty cop. We were the first, I believe Michelle Tyler showed up first, and then Margaret and I showed up. We were the only two people there, but there's an off-duty cop there, and he was there reportedly because there was people trying to interfere with keeping the tree from being cut down. We were standing, Margaret and I were standing in the right-of-way where there was a fence up. I don't know if any of y'all bothered to go by and look at it. But there was a fence up, driveway apron, no sidewalks, weeds everywhere, so you had to stand on the apron. The sheriff runs over and tells us to get off the sidewalk, he said. I said, sir, there's no sidewalk here. I also said, are you on duty or off duty? Because I didn't see a Tahoe. And he said, on duty. All right, first he said off duty. Then I said something to him. I don't remember the exact transaction. But anyway, then he said, I'm on duty. And when I talked to Chip Simmons, he said that, well, on duty, off duty, when they're getting paid like that, they're also on duty. They have a gun. I guess they could arrest somebody. But anyway, he told us to remove ourselves from the right-of-way because we weren't allowed to stay in there. And we weren't blocking anything, weren't doing anything, we were videoing. And if any of y'all ever want to see some of the videos of those big arms of that gigantic tree falling and crashing to the ground, I'm getting a little emotional because it was sad watching that. It was very sad because all of y'all, every one of you knew this was going to happen. And that man right there should have never been allowed to write that order. Ever. And guess who's going to fall down like that big, magnificent oak tree? Hopefully you will, Horace. And your little compadre that wanted to fight with me after that same meeting that day.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
he needs to
Anyway.
direct his comments to the
Yeah.
chair.
I'm sorry,
Direct your comments to the board.
Horace Jones is so
Okay.
good.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
And
Ms.
Homer.
Ritz? Christina Ortland will be the next speaker.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Louise Ritz, resident of Escambia County. Bell's decision to remove immediately the cutting of the heritage live oak tree Saturday was a conniving, horrendous decision on his part, stoking higher ire against his project and possibly himself. This built on the decision by the Planning and Zoning Department, as well as other meetings, to not safeguard the heritage tree on this property. When a permit was issued, the idea of mitigated trees was rather laughable because any mitigated tree would never replace the majestic majesty of this tree, as well as the 16 protected trees. My question was, when I saw the picture in Pensacola News Journal, did the tree cutter follow OSHA guidelines for tree cutters when climbing and cutting trees? Next, was the tree cutter covered by workman's comp? Because if not, then the property owner would have to assume any problems and financial issues. My feelings are based on the mindset of protecting heritage trees in Escambia County. The process that gave to the demise of the ordinance I find destructive, oppressive, and devastating. Our tree canopies in Escambia County continue to diminish. And with this, we have less shade. We have a higher thermal gradient. We have fewer homes for birds and wildlife, and now I hear insects. Less oxygen being generated by leaves, as you all know and have heard time and time again, and fewer natural resources. I bring 6 points for your suggestion as well as your department heads. 1, all heritage trees be marked on site plans of Escambia County by certified engineers or surveyors, and I believe this is already being done, but I wanted to reiterate it. Real estate offerings clearly note heritage trees on properties and the protection to which they are entitled by ordinances or codes. Third, heritage trees' size dimension be redefined to 60 inches. Fourth, surveys denote heritage trees along with the code requirement to protect them. Fifth, pervious paving be required on all sites, residential and commercial, to replenish our aquifer. Sixth, non-native trees and shrubs not be on planting guides for homes and businesses. And lastly, I did a little research on the $24,000 fee. It equates to $282 per inch of the tree. I find that very, very minimal. So reconsider your fee if you're going to start doing heritage tree cutting permissions. Thank you for your time, and Commissioner Bender, I want to thank you for the support you give by allowing me here, because you are our district commissioner. And thank you other commissioners for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you, Ms. Ritz. Christina Ortland, followed by Brianna Ortland.
Hello, am I doing it right? And this is my second time trying to talk to you. Get closer? Okay. This is my second time. The first time I thought it was going to be my last, but here I am again. I am about the heritage tree in the 500-year-old God-made ecosystem that we just destroyed. Y'all had the power to not allow that to happen. Everybody knows in this county that you ask for forgiveness and the fees are less than if you ask for permission and you get denied. We are not the Emerald Coast anymore. We are now the dirty panhandle. I've seen some viral video go up of Sam Parker saying how much of a Christian he is, but who's not more of a Christian that respects the sacred earth, you know? Water Oaks have a whole, I'm sorry, I'm also a biologist, worked for the park ranger, did DEP, worked for UWF and water management, but this hurts me at the heart. And to have some guy say that he's a Christian over and over again, like his propaganda, really, really hurts. And to have this tree, this ecosystem that supported hundreds of thousands of lives over the 500 years really hurt. Someone that has a lifespan 1/6 of the time should not have the ability to kill something that God has made. I'm ashamed. I'm sad. I hope God does feel your heart and makes you see him in all the butterflies and trees and stuff. I'm also not surprised. I work for the DEP. The solution to pollution is dilution. Yay. No, it's not. We've ran out of potential dilution. Now we can't even walk across the street to go to the grocery store. Y'all want freedom? I want to walk a mile to go to the grocery store with my kid. I don't want to depend on your cars and your gases. I want the bees to keep pollinating my garden so I don't have to go to your capitalistic grocery store. There is a viral video where Sam Park says that the developer has contributed money. It's admitting to the fault, you know, having his hand in the developer's pocket. That's not enough. The laws are not enough. The penalty is not enough Y'all are destroying the future of my grandkids, and that's not okay. So if you're going to come up here and call yourself a Christian and try to talk stuff about love, I'm going to be right here with you.
Thank you.
Amen.
Brianna Ortland, followed by Luis Massey.
Her name is Brenna.
Sorry, Brenna. I've got the A in there, sorry.
I am Brenna Ortland. I'm 12 years old. I was awarded the Daughters of the American Revolution Youth Citizen Award, and I speak for the youth. LDC codes require a 25% of property on subdivisions and developments to be kept natural, and having a 50-foot barricade of greenery in between wetlands and brand new housing. However, commissioners by a 4-to-1 vote rejected their own board's opinions for keeping the 20% clean. Something that might be even more important than that is our clear-cutting laws. They say clear-cutting is acceptable. They say ripping bears, great horned owls, armadillos, bald eagles of their home and young is okay. Perfectly acceptable. Not to mention it supports global warming. It removes our air filtration system and withdraws a very much needed flooding protection. Ending clear-cutting is the #1 request from citizens, and what do our commissioners do? Nothing. They refuse to acknowledge that what they are doing is killing our environment, animals, and will soon kill us. They are allowing a heritage tree to be cut down on Saturday. A tree that was 500 years old, a perfectly healthy tree, an ecosystem. A tree protected by law, forged storage unit. And what do they have to do? Pay a fine. They are killing us for money. Some of you think, oh, a 12-year-old, so cute how she's so passionate. I am passionate. I'm passionate because I want a future. You're poisoning my water, poisoning my air, poisoning my soil. And what, for money? You're poisoning mine, my siblings, my friends, your kids, your grandkids' future for money. Thank you for your time.
Luis Massey, followed by Rhonda Wood.
Sorry. Freezer burn. Don't do it to your skin. That's why I can't walk very well. Yeah, listen to them when they say don't leave it on for very long. Hi, Louise Massey, 5615 St. Adamnan. I'm about a quarter mile away from the area of the murder. Mr. Bender, I believe I'm in your district, sir. Norwood. Hi. Okay, so I wasn't going to be here. I wasn't going to be able to be here. The blisters hadn't popped yet. But I love what she just said, and I think the real important thing, I just read an article, the real Avatar story. Have any of y'all watched the 2009 movie, The Avatar? Anybody? Great. Okay. The real Avatar story, the indigenous people fight to save their forest homes from corporate exploitation. That is actually a real live story on this planet, not an off-world story, not a James Cameron story. That's a real story that happened. So please Google it. Anyway, as depicted by other movies, such as The Lorax, and that is a Dr. Seuss original, Trees, one that you mentioned, there's so many reasons why this was wrong. I went and I visited that tree, as several other people did, before they put the signs up, you know, freaking everybody out. But yeah, I visited that tree. I saw how long those limbs were, how far from the base of the trunk, and I'm sure somebody has that on some kind of information that we could gauge exactly from that wall to that wall, or how far from that 20-foot trunk that still remains. 20 feet in the air, think about that, 20 feet in the air, that is the stump that remains. Anyway, y'all allowed this to happen, and I'm sorry that y'all did, and I'm angry, I'm pissed off, I'm very passionate, I'm standing here shaking, I'm so mad. But the mining company that is in the avatar, brought the ex-Marines for security. Wow, doesn't that sound familiar? And would stop at nothing, not even genocide, to secure the profits for its shareholders. The struggle between corporations and indigenous people is hardly science fiction. Deforestation. Did we not just have world leaders promise to end deforestation by 2030? Yes, we did. 85K is about not even the amount that we should ask. $1,000 for every inch. That's not even going to cover what we've lost. The bees, I just found out about the bees just seconds ago. How do we eat? Bees. How do you eat? Everybody, we need the bees. How can we keep the bees? We need to keep the trees. Sorry, I'm very angry. I just found that out. I'm so angry.
Rhonda. Sorry, please, we don't disrupt meetings. Rhonda Wood, followed by Chris Kerb.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Wood. I live at 7030 Nathan Road. I apologize for having to read my comments. Very nervous about speaking in public like this, but I wanted to speak my piece at this meeting. First, I want to thank TJ Williams for everything that he's done to resolve my neighborhood's flooding and my property flooding. I appreciate TJ and staff. He took the time to keep me informed, investigated with Jason Lachey, the Longleaf engineer. TJ worked with the park staff to place sandbags in an attempt for a temporary flood relief. I have learned so much about water in the last 6 months. Nathan Road has been my home since 1991. In April of 2014, my garage and porch flooded. I squeeged my front door to protect my home. We've only had nuisance flooding with the past hurricanes, but it has never flooded like it has since the Escambia County improved the Bellevue Ballpark men's ball field and paved a partial dirt road behind my property. Paved with drainage plans or flooding, no flooding consideration. If I didn't invest in a pump, my home would flood. My porch flooded, the pool liner buckles, and I just replaced it in 2019 at $4,500. We cannot flush toilets or take showers. Commissioner Burgash mentioned in the last 2 meetings that the Escambia County Parks Department paved the ballpark because of the dust. My neighbor, Captain Guy Stephen, asked, does dust outweigh flood? The fact, no permits, no plans, no drainage. The right answer, we prepared engineered plans with drainage to protect you. We ask you, our county commissioners, to fix the flooding problems. There's flooding on Belgium Circle. Belgium Road has had yard and septic flooding since 2013. That is 8 years too long. Complete a project so our homes, our yards, our streets stop flooding so we can shower and flush our toilets. A Band-Aid is not the answer. You need an area drainage evaluation with ECUA coordination for possible sanitary sewer expansion. Many of us are on fixed incomes. We've worked raising our families, saving for retirement, and the cost of flooding repair damage was not part of our plan. It's cost me $1,500 for a pump rental purchase. I even bought flood insurance, even though I don't live in a flood zone, just in case. Pool repair, and we fight water for 10 hours a day for 7 days. You can't put a cost on the fear of flooding. Our quality of life is disrupted with the threat of our home flooding. With no pumps, I would have home damage. We want to work together to come up with the right solutions to fix poor drainage. I'll continue to come to these meetings and talk to our county officials to do my part as a homeowner. Thank you again for listening to our voice. I have high hopes that you will push forward on this project and start soon so our neighborhood and the Saddlebrook neighborhood north of the school board property doesn't flood again. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, sorry, this is going to be the last time, please.
Are no clapping?
No, ma'am.
And no saying amen?
I know. Right, I know you've gone to, probably, it sounds like you've gone to Santa Rosa County a few times, and so we do not do disruptive outbursts here.
No clapping,
No, ma'am.
saying amen. Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, Chris Kerr, followed by Deanna Redlinski.
Well, you guys know who I am. First of all, I just want to thank you guys for giving us this platform. I want to thank staff for responding to the needs of the flood defenders. And I'm not flood defenders. Jay's not flood defenders. We're flood defenders. Raise your hand. These are flood defenders. I got all their names listed in here. A couple of them couldn't be here. Alan McCullough, his address is on here. You can read the information about it. Chris Odom, he's on here. He's on Thayer Avenue. In this region, we have the highest annual rainfall in the nation. And one might think that, Commissioner Bergosh, if flooding is the #1 problem, why isn't it the #1 priority? You have a SWAT plan. Why not have a large drainage division like you have a traffic and transportation operations division? You need to invest in your staff and your resources. Engineering department's understaffed. I talked to a couple of the project managers. They got 40 projects. That's 1 hour a week per project. You can't do it. They need help. Your LDC regulations, they're there to protect people from flooding. Commissioner Bergosh, you mentioned that we changed from a 25-year to a 100-year storm. Guess what? That's not good enough. You know why? Because we're using old rainfall data. 1960s rainfall data that DOT publishes in their design manual is what the whole state of Florida uses. Guess what? NOAA Atlas 14 has better rainfall data. It's current. Santa Rosa County does the same thing. So you need to adopt the new rainfall data to do design with. Rainfall will increase with climate change and sea level rise. So some don't believe that sea level rise and climate change exists, but science says otherwise. I've already talked about this before, but it's simple. You need to plan, protect, invest, and maintain. If you click here, you can, on this spreadsheet, or on this document that I sent you, it has links on it. Your land development code's supposed to protect people. There's quotes in here, Article 5, in Chapter 4, Article 4. There's sections 4.1, 5.4, and 4.5. You can read those. You need accurate flood maps. I had a meeting today. FEMA just had a petition filed against them in January, and they're going to be doing some reform of their FEMA regulations. So your maps may get a little better. Right now, they're only 2006 in Escambia County. Your code needs to be changed. You need to add low-impact design manual to your land development code. You also need to update your drainage impact fees to current cost and incentivize your low-impact development. Lewis Reed says that tree preservation, that's a good thing to incentivize too. You can do it under your drainage impact fee. You can actually give credits for preserving trees with your drainage impact fee. But you got to raise your drainage impact fee. A nickel per square foot of impervious area is what it is right now. I got some pocket change for you. You're doing a pretty good job improving your workforce retention, but you still need some improvements. You need to invest in your SWAT, in your stormwater advisory team. You need to make it a stormwater action team. The more time you delay, the more we pay. I read an article this morning about Bay County. Their project costs are going up due to inflation. Well, you can click on the link there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chris. Deanna Rodlinski, followed by Rebecca Brown.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Here I am again. Third time's a charm, right? Anyway, my husband and I reside at 2046 Silverado Court in the Windrose subdivision, just one of the many on the Bayou Marcus Creek Branch Tributary B. We've established that flooding is the #1 problem in Escambia County, and I'm asking you guys to make it your #1 priority. We, the flood defenders, have reported homes flooding multiple times to you, the Board of Commissioners, the Road Department, the Engineering Department, both before, during, and after floods. Last month, we informed you about the flooding in Windrose subdivision and the adjoining neighborhoods along Tempest, El Dorado, Continental, and upstream, all the way to Perdido Park subdivision. We all had some kind of property damage. Again, we ask you guys to open an investigation, look into where the problems and the blockages are on the Bayou Marcus Creek, and inform us as homeowners, taxpayers, what you guys are going to do to fix the problem. I have 6 questions. Has a comprehensive investigation been started? And if so, what's your findings? Is there a scope of work? We would like a copy as homeowners. Where do we find those? Will a full-blown restoration project be funded? Is there a list of projects applied for the flood resilience grants through DEP? And lastly, I appreciate the flood questionnaire that some of us received on November 1st that the county taped to our doors, asking questions about our flood damage. I appreciate it, but we all didn't get one. I think it needs to be throughout every neighborhood. That would give you true data of who and how we flooded. A handful of people, yeah, on Windrose, they filled them all out. But other people that are up from us, neighborhoods 2 or 3 away from us, they, not by their fault, but their water came to my home because it comes downhill. They need to be able to explain their damages as they were also underwater. As taxpayers and homeowners, we look forward to working with you guys for a reasonable resolution. Thanks.
Thank you. Rebecca Brown, followed by Vanessa Truesdale.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Chairman of the Board. My name is Rebecca Brown. I have been a resident of Escambia County for 55 years and lived at my current home on El Dorado for 33 years. I am here to address repeated and progressively worsening flooding in the areas of Carr Acres West and Windrose subdivisions. When we moved to this home in 1988, we did not have home intrusion flooding issues until the spring of 2005 during a 24-hour rainstorm which dumped 26.25 inches of rain in our subdivision. Until then, water had only regularly flooded our properties and yards, which even then was unacceptable. 3 houses on the west end of El Dorado Drive were flooded that day. Again, the same houses were flooded in 2012 during a storm. Everyone is aware of the 2014 flood where our street encountered an unprecedented and unexpected change in home flooding, resulting in 10 homes incurring water intrusion of varying levels. There are only 15 homes on the west end of El Dorado Drive, so the increase to 10 homes encompassed a third of our street. Lastly, in September of 2020, during Hurricane Sally, the same 10 homes flooded. I went around the neighborhood after 2014 flood from Fairfield Drive at Continental Drive, descending into Windrose and Pontiac Drive, taking pictures of culvert areas originally designated to drainage as well as areas for piping, swales, and ditching. What I found angered me as well as other residents of our neighborhood. The Bass Pond and Retention Pond were filled with sediment, overgrowth and mature trees and bushes. Upon speaking with neighbors in Carr Acres 4 off of Imperial Drive, I found that promised annual dredging of the plain by the county has not been done in decades. The drainage area leading from the culvert on Fairfield Drive into the easement is full of sand shoals and standing water because it can no longer drain. Even now, in 2021, none of this has changed, which will lead to continued and progressive flooding, increasing our insurance policies and bringing continued financial damages to our residents. There is also bush hogging under the Gulf Power High Lines that runs through the middle of the floodplain that has not occurred in nearly a decade. As the area is not kept clean, free of debris, and bush hogged, it retains trash and sediment, with the runoff increasing the level of the drainage plain. With continued neglect, it has raised the level of the swale and drainage to something you can walk out into instead of the 6-foot-deep depression the field had when I first moved to my El Dorado home. It is unconscionable to think that there was a plan put in motion to fix drainage problems in 2014, yet nothing has changed in the last 7 years where we live. We cannot afford to keep repairing or rebuilding our homes, spending all of our hard-earned money and savings every time there is a rainstorm or hurricane. We are full of anxiety and uncertainty of what may come when it rains a little or rains a lot. It is unfair to the tax-paying residents of Escambia County to keep having to endure this instead of Escambia County doing the right thing and restoring the Biomarcus floodplain B. Thank you for your time today. Please don't waste any more time, we ask of you. Our homes are waiting to be rescued from the dangers that surely await them in the future.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Vanessa Truesdale, followed by Tom Rudd.
Good afternoon. Vanessa Truesdale, 5490 Bellevue Avenue. I spoke at the public forum on October the 21st concerning my drainage issues. Jeff Bergosh told me that he would send a group out to look at the problem and try to find a solution. I would like to thank you today for doing that. The group came out on October the 29th and looked at all of the issues. I am here today to ask, can I count on you to follow through with a solution? I have been in this same situation before. 2 years ago, a group came out and they addressed the same issue, and I still have the same problem, only worse. I need to know that if a solution is found, whether it need to be corrected by the county or back by McDirt, that you would follow through and fix the drainage problem in a timely manner. My drainage going into the McDirt pit should have never been blocked in the first place without a solution already in place for the blocked water. The drainage into the pit was considered historical drainage and cannot be blocked. Not only do I have more flooding on my property, I also now have the kudzu problem that was added by McDirt trying to cover up the swale. Why should I be required to fight kudzu that I did not plant and I do not want on my property? I feel that any business that knowingly causes damage to someone else's property should be held accountable. I need your help. When the permits are granted for a business to operate, it should also cover any area of that business that is causing damage to the neighborhood. Why are they not held accountable? Any help from you would be appreciated. Thanks again, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you as to how you plan on proceeding on this issue. And I do appreciate you, Jeff Bergosh, for sending them out so quickly.
And not to take too much time, Mr. Chairman, but I will let you know, and I'll make this public proclamation, if it's a county issue in our part of the property or something we can control, you can count on it. We'll put it into the mix and we'll find funding, and, you know, we're working multiple projects. But I will tell you this, in speaking with staff who did go out there immediately, you know, some of these issues are, you know, between you and your neighbor, and maybe a civil matter, not necessarily something that I can get in the middle of. And kudzu is an invasive species. Everyone
If
around
they asked for a permit and
Yes,
it was
ma'am.
granted, then the water issue should have been involved under that permit.
Yes, ma'am. And I will tell you, though,
It shouldn't have been my problem because y'all gave them a permit. Y'all should have already had it in place that you have to do this with the water.
Sure.
It
And-
shouldn't have become my problem.
well, their permit is for concrete crushing. It's not for, you know, so I hear what you're saying. Staff is looking at it. If it is something that we need to do, but I will tell you, we've held their feet to the fire about the particulate matter. There's been testing, and, you know, I know that Philip has passed away and his son is running the company now, but just as I did last month, just as I said I would, I will stay engaged on this, and to the extent I'm able to do it, and with the funding constraints, we will assist where it's appropriate. That's what I'll say.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, as the next gentleman's coming up, Commissioner Bergosh, I want to thank you for asking somebody to go out as well. I don't necessarily know Ms. Truesdale very well, but I do know her brother, and he's a constituent of mine, lives in Molino, and I have talked to him a number of times about the problem as well, and I assured him that I felt like you were engaged, and I appreciate you doing that.
All right, thank you. We'll have Tommy Thomason will be up after this. Yes, sir.
Okay. Evening, Commissioners. My name is Tom Rudd. I reside at 5069 Terra Lake Circle.
Pensacola, Florida, 32507. It's the Perdido Estates subdivision. I spoke at the 1014 meeting about the flooding, the failing storm pipes and lack of pond maintenance. You heard from Chuck Gardner and I believe Chris Kerb at that time too. These are the following things I discussed. ESC and FDEP regulations failed our neighborhood by not holding the developer responsible. Failed and plugged storm pipe, multiple pipe joint failures due to improper installation. Costs to the county for repetitive roadway reconstruction due to prolonged saturation. No maintenance of both ponds has caused street, yard, and home flooding. UPS, USPS, FedEx, and Amazon will not deliver if streets are flooded. When the streets are flooded, delays by first responders may cause life safety concerns. On October 21st, Commissioner Underhill, Chuck Gardner, Chris Kerb, and I met to discuss flooding solutions. The meeting was a good discussion, and we thank Doug for helping with the solution. We discussed the following plan steps to resolve the flooding. Step 1, code enforcement to take action. Nuisance abatement to clear the central and north stormwater ponds of all heavy vegetation, root balls, and debris. There's a possibility of regrading the pond banks disturbed by the work. This is an immediate need due to public safety issues. Engineering department to implement a drain project. Acquire all private drainage easements needed to protect the county's public roadways. Replace failed storm pipe from East Terra Lake Circle to Horton Street and then onto the central pond. Raising the curbing at the southeast corner of Terra Lake Circle to prevent further home flooding. Acquire remaining easements, evaluate pipe and ditches for project improvements inclusion. We understand there is a process with code enforcement and project implementation, and I'm not sure of the legalese of the plan steps discussed. We did discuss the lien the pond owners to reimburse for nuisance abatement efforts of the two ponds. The pond owners, who are the developers, are board members of this, of their own HOA, of which has never been turned over to the neighborhood homeowners. Now, I found out later that it has been deeded over to the homeowner association that is not in existence. Take county ownership of the pond parcels to ensure needed ongoing maintenance. Easement acquisition to change all drainage easements from private to public. Establish a pond maintenance MSBU, not an improvement MSBU for county pond maintenance. I'm sure that Commissioner Underhill, code enforcement, and the engineering department can better articulate the legalities, engineering, actual work, and costs of the above steps. Bottom line, our neighborhood has waited long enough for this problem to be fixed, 18 years. We are hopeful the Escambia County will implement a plan to protect us from flooding and invest in a project so the county can maintain the ponds and public infrastructure. I'm looking at 5 county commissioners up here. Well, one has left the room. But are the rest of these commissioners going to support Doug Underhill on this plan? And if so, when are you going to start it?
Thank you, Mr. Rudd.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Actually, Mr. Rudd, you said a number of times there that you thought I could articulate it better than you. I don't think I can. You nailed all the points very clearly. And it is my intent to tell my peers here that it's my intent to use some of my discretionary LOST to be able to make these ponds right. I think probably all 5 of us are familiar with the fact that Mr. Fashan was held accountable in court, only to find out that there'd be no punishment for what he had done. So we're going to work on, we can't do the use LOST money on it yet because we don't have public right-of-way there. They're private. So as soon as we get that done, then we'll be able to get the pipes corrected. One of the areas I think that the citizens of that neighborhood have to be aware of, last time we tried to talk about this, North Pond has turned into a bit of a green belt, and a lot of folks want that to, or at that time, wanted it to stay a green belt. It cannot be a green belt and also a storm pond. So it has to be returned to its designed plan. None of the rest of the neighborhood works without that north pond. And so that is going to entail taking down some trees. Now, there's of course no heritage trees there. And, you know, it's you know, scrub pines and that kind of thing. But there will be some pushback from citizens who don't want to have that cleared out. but we have to clear it out in order to be able to create the protections that we're looking for in that neighborhood. So we actually got, what he didn't say here is during that phone call, we got Tim Day on the phone and got staff moving on it really on the spot. So I think that we'll be moving forward fairly quickly. And I would ask every member of this board to understand that Mr. Fashan was found negligent by a state court, and then the DEP had absolutely no punishment on him for it. So if there comes a time that we are able to financially hold Mr. Fashan accountable for what he has done to these people, I would ask that this board be very supportive of that. Thank you.
Tommy Thomason. Mel Pino will be next.
Good evening. My name is Tommy Thompson. I live at 9330 Surrey Drive, 32534. I have 2 items to bring up this evening. The first, I want to thank the board and county staff for acting on our neighborhood's behalf regarding excess water and silt that have been pouring out of a borrow pit at the end of our street. I've been informed that the owner of the pit has worked to address the problem, and I haven't noticed any problems from the pit since about mid-August. The second item that I'd like to discuss is the drainage problem with a county pond that's between Surrey Drive and Windsong Lane. Since the neighborhood flooded in Hurricane Sally, I've been more active with trying to address this problem. We flooded in 19 and 2014. Since Sally, I've been working with Chris and flood defenders and county staff to come up with a solution to the problem. And as far as solutions to the problem, or all the comments I've gotten on it, it's ranged anywhere from, there's nothing we can do. Do you have flood insurance? And there's also, hey, there's a state drain that's about 20 feet from the pond that we could connect to, and it might solve the problem. I'm not trying to blame anybody for not taking such a simple solution and you go and run in with that, but what I'm trying to accomplish is I'm trying to get some progress with the board and the county staff to address this problem. Like, basically, just trying to get, I'm just trying to get it out in the open that, hey, we got this problem. The county's working, they're spending man hours to try to address this problem, but it's like, who do we go to solve it? Like, where do we get the money? It's like, oh, let me see if I can go to the county commissioners to see about, saving our property. It's not just me. There's about 10 other people that flood in that area. It seems like a simple solution, connect one pond to another. That's about all I have. I was hoping Commissioner May was here. Can you all pass that along to him? He's in my district. Sure.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks.
All right, Melissa Pino.
Thank you, Chairman Bender. Melissa Pino, 413 Southeast Boblets. Just want to say a little bit about the flooding and then talk about the tree. And Chairman Bender, I really do want to address you on this because you might actually be unaware of this, as this predates your time on the dais. 4 years ago, I sent an email into the county attorney with all the commissioners CC'd. It was Grover at the time. Alerting, because at that time I was so new, I thought Allison was my attorney as a citizen rather than the board's attorney. And I said, Commissioner Underhill is still on the books with Coastal Home Builders, and he's not declaring it on his financial statement. And I said, even worse, that business shares a billing address with Classic Homes, Speranza, Vashon, on Sunbiz. They shared a mailing address, and I said, this is a builder that is causing all kinds of problems all over Escambia County, and he's sharing a mailing address, And little did I know at that time that Perdido Estates was in such trouble during that time. Not going to have much time to talk about the tree. I think everybody knows where I stand on it, because I do want to say one more thing. Gentlemen, Perdido Estates desperately needs to be fixed, as does a lot else in District 2. Maybe you need to think about taking over Commissioner Underhill's projects and moving some of these things along for real, deciding what monies get spent, doing a triage on all of the neglect. He's had 7 years to fix that problem. His ex-business partner is the one that caused it. Still on the books, with a shared mailing address while this was going on during his time as commissioner. Please consider helping us in District 2 by just taking over his projects and moving these things forward. The tree. Gentlemen, it's not on staff. Margaret and I have had so many heated arguments about this on the phone, screaming at each other, that she probably couldn't even count them either. And I've told her that if this problem gets focused on staff, it's never going to get fixed. Because whatever happened with Horace and that permit, and I honestly don't know the circumstances, it's not on staff. This is a policy problem. And so when you answer and you say, whatever I can do, you guys have all the power in the world. You're the most powerful people in the county. You decide what happens in the county. You decide the codes. You tell staff when they need to be revised. And more important, you set the culture that staff knows they have to follow. And things have been very laissez-faire about trees, so why would the staff think that they'd have your support in saving them? It's time to fix the problem, gentlemen, and you guys are the only ones that can do it by directing a complete overhaul of our land development code and getting us a new tree ordinance. Thank you.
Bill. Kevin Wade?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm generally disinclined to speak to candidate Pino's lies from the dais, or from the podium there, but I think it's imperative that I do in this case. Coastal Home Builders is not owned, never has been owned by Rick or Danny. But when Danny Speranza's daughter came to me and asked me to help her learn how to pass the exam to become a general contractor in the state of Florida, which is very difficult, and it's a very heavily male-dominated business, one where there aren't nearly enough women as general contractors. I volunteered to assist to help her to do that. That's what Coastal Home Builders was. And for this candidate without a constituency to stand at this dais and make lies like that, only to get us off of the subject of taking care of the issues that we all have in our districts. It's a very dangerous, I wouldn't be speaking to it, except we've seen that those lies told by candidate Pino from the podium prevented us from getting the work done in a timely fashion in Lake Charlene, and they have also resulted in the delay of the project at Beach Haven. So it's imperative, I think, unfortunately, that while it's oftentimes said, never speak to crazy, if crazy gets us off our job, then it has to be addressed. The truth must be outed.
Thank you. Kevin? And then Paul will be after them.
Speranza and all the rest of that is right there on Sunbiz. Kevin Wade, 413 Southeast Boblets. Kind of heritage we're going to leave for our kids. Brianna, you rock at 12. I hope your parents and your peers can take care of this world. I don't think there's anybody in this room that wanted that tree knocked down. I don't think there's anybody in this room. Most of the people in this room didn't want the tree taken down across the street from Mel's house that had been the tree swing in Navy Point, where 5 generations have taught their kids to swim and play on a tree swing. I come from a place that has the largest inner city park and in this continent. There's never any talk about adding new monuments in that park for my lifetime. The horrors that have happened in Deanna's life, especially in the last few years, are beyond our knowledge at her age. She goes through active shooter drills at school. And we are a gun sanctuary. Why couldn't we be a tree sanctuary, you know? Comedians in the Pacific Northwest, all I gotta do is get up with a southern drawl, say, I'm running for blah, blah, and I'm going to bring roads and drainage. And yeah, we need the roads and drainage. And, you know, the things that I heard at the hearing where, oh, the people of Escambia County have no standing on that tree. Well, we have defenders of that tree, definitely. No standing. That tree has been standing. That tree stood for 3/4 of its life prior to the American Revolution, which is what gives Deanna this wonderful gift from the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Thank you, Kevin.
That's a long time.
Paul Nobles? Good to see you again, Paul. Welcome back.
Thank you. Paul Nobles, 6117 Woodcock Lane. Commissioners, I am here today as a citizen requesting that you address all current drainage needs in Escambia County, not just the funding, but future development. First, if I could, I'd like to thank some people, specifically Commissioner Bender, Joy Jones, Robert McCracken, both of which are with engineering, and Chris Kerb. They took the time to come out to at least review and see what our drainage issues were in and around Woodcock Lane. We have always been told that flood insurance was not required for our house because we are 100 feet above sea level. 2014 told us differently when we had water throughout our house. I won't go into major details except to say, especially since engineering they are currently trying to address the issue, but this issue does go back for quite a number of years. Because of well-intentioned road constructions going back to the 1980s, Woodcock Lane is now higher than the surrounding properties. Actually, I can measure it. It is in excess of 8 inches higher than the original road. Now, that may not sound like a whole lot, but when you have rain and you live in an area that is completely flat, it keeps drainage from any of the water from moving anywhere but onto your property. Adding to our issues with drainage, ECUA does not and has refused to provide sewer on Woodcock Lane. I will be taking that up with them. Everyone on our street has septic tanks. Add to this that our entire area is basically a clay base. Septic tanks have a bad habit of not perking in clay. Unfortunately, my house was built before ECUA existed, and we didn't have the option of trying to set up with sewer. Ironically, there is a holding pond that is less than 150 feet from my front door. This now is now owned by Escambia County. I'd like to make sure that's known. I think they are, engineering is currently looking at the potential of trying to move and allow us to have some drainage on that. I just want y'all to know I'm not trying to blame anybody. I know this is a current ongoing problem. It is one that needs to be addressed. I know, I saw it in the past. I've sat in on many of the meetings on flooding presentations. What I'm asking is one, that you fund it, but more importantly, please fund the department. I concur with Chris Kerb's request, like you do for transportation, There should be an entire division under engineering that is specifically addressing drainage issues. These are going to do nothing but get worse as time goes on. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And I did talk to ECOA about trying to get some sewer in that way. I explained the problems, but we'll see what we can.
I intend to attend some of their meetings to address it
Perfect.
directly with them.
Actually, I don't know if Bruce Woody's here yet. I know they're coming, so.
Well, we have addressed it to our representative, who has told us that that's out of his control, but we'll take that up with them.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Rob, whenever you bring something forward, just to address drainage, you'll find my support.
All right, thank you, sir.
Because it's an issue in every district.
Yep. All right, that's the end of the public speaking.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Chris, I want to ask you, I mean, that's pretty epic staffing to get these, all these put together, all these talking points. But I'm an electronic guy. If you don't mind, if you could get everybody to send these to me electronically, that way they're searchable in my Outlook.
Yeah, I think.
Appreciate it.
They've already been
Thank you.
sent. How many minutes? Well, I was ready to go, but if you got to go.
What time is your event?
So 7 o'clock, I mean, I need to be there about 7, 10 minutes away, so.
There's a couple hot button things we got to get
Yep,
done first.
yep. So. All right, you ready? All right, okay. Who all do we have in?
Hey, what?
Hey, Jeff. Good to see you, man. Hey, Jeff. How are you? Good to see you.
Hey, board, you may have logged in under the.
It says we're 2 or 3. Hey, guys.
Good evening. This is the November 4th, 5 o'clock Board of County Commissioners regular scheduled meeting. Please turn your cell phone to the vibrate, silence, or off setting. The Board of County Commissioners allow any person to speak regarding an item on the agenda. The speaker is limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise determined by the chairman to allow sufficient time for all speakers. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, protests, or other conduct which interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Upon completion of the public comment period, discussion is limited to board members and questions raised by the board. I have the invocation tonight. I have Pastor Brian Kinsey with the First Pentecostal Church of Pensacola. And then Jeff, would you lead us in the pledge? So, Pastor Kinsey, welcome. Thank you for coming this evening.
To our esteemed commissioners, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. I consider it an honor to be able to speak the blessing of the Lord upon you, your families, our county, and this beautiful city of Pensacola. And what an honor to be able to do that. Shall we pray? Father, in the wonderful name of Jesus, this day is the day that you have made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. I take authority and bind every spirit of oppression and despair. We pray for our families fervently. We lift them up that they may be healed. We intercede on behalf of our leaders that they would possess a desire for God and your guidance. Help us to stand fast in one mind, one accord, in the unity of the Holy Spirit. We bind together and ask that you would bless the leaders of this great county and great nation, that they might be filled with the knowledge of your will with all wisdom and spiritual understanding. I decree in the Spirit reconciliation in families and relationships. I decree healing virtue to the sick and the hurting. I decree strength to flow into those that labor for a better tomorrow. I decree that every promise of the Lord that has been spoken and written in our heart would come to pass exactly as it has been spoken. We receive what you have for us, Lord, and we desire to walk in the abundance of your blessing. Teach us to be understanding, to treat all of our brothers and sisters with respect, build up our community, and fill it with the very best of your abundant blessings. Cover us with your mercy and establish it in grace so no storm can destroy it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, for helping with that. Thank you. Are there any items to be added to the agenda?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have one add-on. It's been distributed, and I would ask that we take that before you depart today. I'm sure it will be a fairly short one.
Yes, sir.
I had a couple of add-ons, but I think they've been distributed, and
They're
you have them.
included in the...
I don't.
Yep, okay. I don't have anything.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
with all due respect to Commissioner Underhill, if the add-on has to do with the redistricting information, what I've just spent 45 minutes of my time with doing public forum is meeting with constituents, and this item that we will address will have a 10-year impact, and I know that it's time sensitive, but I would respectfully ask for the chair to call a special call meeting this week to discuss the redistricting in lieu of the map that's been submitted. Unfortunately, it was, Commissioner Underhill, with no disrespect, it was submitted today with some things that are of great alarm to those that I represent, and I've not had the time to do the due diligence of respect, and so I would like to drop the item and bring this item back this week, because we have a very aggressive schedule, and with you leaving, it's going to be a 2 or 3 hour conversation with or without you being here. And so
Mr.
if
Chairman,
my
and-
colleagues don't want to do that, that's fine, but it's going to be a very, very long conversation in lieu of information that's been presented with this add-on item.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, in light of what Commissioner May has said, if we're willing to have an additional meeting next week where we could have a more thorough discussion on this, then I'm certainly open to dropping the item in exchange for that opportunity to vet the discussion out.
And Jeff, Steve, y'all wouldn't have opposition to that? You wouldn't have opposition to that. I would certainly appreciate the opportunity to have this discussion, to actually to validate some of the things that have been presented, and to look at those options and out of respect to those that I represent.
Just add it to the
Today.
discussion next week, is that?
To the committee of the whole or a special meeting. I just don't think we can do it justice tonight with the amount of things that we have on the agenda, Steve.
If that's what you're asking me to do, I'll support that,
The
Commissioner.
entire item, not just Doug's add-on,
Yeah,
both
just the
both
entire
items?
item.
The entire
So
item?
we can have a full discussion.
What does that do to our timeline, though, with the
I
school
mean, I think
board?
the school board's meeting Wednesday.
I think they were farther out than that, but.
When does the school board meet, Allison?
I don't know when they meet.
Okay.
I know
Well, they
put
took it off the agenda for this Wednesday, and it's further out.
Well, let's
I
do
just
it.
got off the phone with, Laurie Etler was in the meeting with me just now, and it's a big concern of hers, and so
So you think we add it to Tuesday's meeting?
Tuesday meeting, or if you want to stand, I'll come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But what I do want to do, Jeff, is give it justice, and tonight, well, everything we got on this agenda, I can't give it justice in my opinion.
Yeah, so Tuesday sounds good to me. I mean,
So just for purposes of the clerk's minutes, you are also asking that the county attorney's report item 2-2 2 also be moved to Tuesday's Committee of the
I
Whole?
absolutely am.
And you won't be able to take a vote at that time, so you still have the school board kind of waiting to see what we do, and we don't
I
have
think
another...
they'll know our indications from that meeting.
Well, can we make it a special meeting so that we can take action?
We need to get that advertised, certainly tomorrow
Make it
would
a
be...
special meeting.
That way we can
Make it a
advertise it,
special
we can
meeting.
discuss it, and move it forward. And then, Lumen, can we do that one in the afternoon, or when?
Whenever you want to do it, Jeff, I mean, I will,
Let's just do it at the conclusion of, can we just do it at the conclusion?
So
of
what
the
you
meeting?
could do is you could advertise a special meting at 9:00 a.m. and your Committee of the Whole to start at 9:01 a.m., and then you could do it that way.
So do we want to do this first, or do we want to do the committee of the whole first?
I would hope that the administrator wouldn't have very much on the committee of the whole. This is the most
We have to have
important.
we have to have a time certain for this, and if we put a time certain, well,
So
Well,
we
I mean,
can,
we can still advertise
What
at
are the issues on
9:01
the
and
committee
just
of the
start
whole,
it
Wes?
at.
I mean,
Yeah, it
this
doesn't
is,
matter,
this is an issue that's important for the next 20 years of our life.
so 9 o'clock, and then we'll do the committee of the whole at 9:01?
Yeah, if we have anything.
Does that work for you guys?
Maybe Wes can eliminate anything at committee of the whole that's not time sensitive.
We'll take a look. All right, absolutely.
Do you know what's on the committee of the whole, Wes, at this point?
I know we have about 3 to 4 items, but I don't recall right off the
I
top of my head.
respectfully ask that you drop any of those that are not time sensitive, Wes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So your motion is to drop the county attorney's item as well as my add-on?
Absolutely.
I'll second that.
I'm in that. Yeah.
All right. Are you good?
And otherwise to adopt the agenda.
Otherwise, to adopt the agenda.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, please vote. All right, Board, we did have one speaker on county attorney report. Motion passes 5-0. So, Charles, we're going to have a special meeting on Tuesday. Okay? All right. Commissioner Swarm, Commissioner Berry,
no, sir, in light of the schedule.
Thank you, sir.
I'm good.
Commissioner May.
I'll be very brief in light of, I know we have an aggressive schedule, but to Dr. A.L. Durant, who's the oldest African-American pastor of the Macedonia Baptist Church, who's laid to rest at the Great Little Rock Baptist Church on Saturday. My prayers and condolences are to his family. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Underhill.
Nothing for the good of the whole, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Burgash.
I'll hold my comments back. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you. Just real quick, I just want to, of course, recognize the Blue Angels on their 75th anniversary. We're having the Homecoming Air Show at Pensacola Beach this weekend, Friday and Saturday. They performed this afternoon. It was wonderful. It was great to see the crowds out there. And so hope you have the opportunity to come out and see them this weekend. We're going to have a full show starting tomorrow at 11 a.m. And it looks like it'll be a great weekend. So hope to see everybody out there. All right. We have a presentation, certificates of appreciation by Robert Turpin, Marine Resource Manager of the volunteers of the 2021 Marine Turtle Nesting Program.
Move the proclamations as presented.
I think this is just a presentation.
Oh, just a presentation?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Good evening. I'm Robert Turpin, Marine Resources Division Manager. Tonight I have a pleasure of allowing our Marine Environmental Programs Manager, Mark Nicholas, present these proclamation awards to the 28 volunteers that do a tremendous service to our community and to our marine environment by getting up before daylight every day and performing nest surveys. They also are out on the beach responding to other issues like flooded nests and things that are not so pleasant. They do this rain or shine, and it's my privilege and pleasure to be able to allow them to be congratulated and awarded these proclamations by Mark Nicholas.
Good evening. We have several that are here, and we have quite a few that could not make it, but we will read their names as well. But I'd like to begin with Stephanie Allen. Thank you. Holly Forrester. Thank you. Kelly Gontarski. Wendy Hoflich. And I'm also going to give Emily Hoflich, that's her daughter, to her because she couldn't make it. Thank you. Brian Kershaw. Thanks, And we have Bonnie Kershaw. Cindy Marvel. And John Pawanda. Thanks, John. And then I'll just go through real quick the names of the individuals that couldn't make it this evening, but we would like to thank them as well. Connie Bednar, Jay Bonanno, John Brandon, Christine Brewster, Kim Carmody, Jenny Diamond, Tanya Duke, Monica Hardin, Jody Hofer, Kitsy Biggerstaff Mott, Jennifer Pullis, Terry Preston, Sean Rogan, Trish Robertson, Brenda Sexton, Lisa Sheehy, Rick Sheehy, Melanie Waite, and DJ Zemanek.
Great, thank you.
Picture time, everybody.
Grab a picture real quick. And Captain Turpin, I think we had a late nest hatch last week. Is that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We had one last Friday.
How many did we get out of that?
There were 70-something came out, and the last several were still in it. When we assessed it, they had to go to rehab. It was a little too cold, and they just couldn't swim away. So they're at Gulf area.
Okay, everyone gather in. Short people up front.
All unwanted to be seen people in the
All right, thank you all.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, I want to share a story about these folks. That I was a number of years ago, a couple of years ago, I was out at the professional jet ski race on Pensacola Beach in your district. And you know, there's a group of the fathers of racers that are out there before the sun comes up to set up everything. And as I came up on that group of fathers that morning, they were cussing and fussing, and these are folks that live inland and are not aware of the sensitivities of our environment. And they were fussing, and they're like, what's going on, guys? I don't know. We got to wait on some crazy turtle lady to come and say it's okay to go on the beach. And I said, guys, let me tell you something. Do you enjoy racing here in Pensacola? Oh, yeah, Pensacola Beach is the best place on the entire national tour. And I said, without the crazy turtle lady coming and making sure that what we do doesn't violate federal law, there would be no races on Pensacola Beach. And it was one of those times where I got to see people's minds, which are closed because of their lack of experience and lack of knowledge. I got to see their minds open on the spot. And over the last couple of years, of course, I'm still hanging out with those same fathers and traveling all around the country. And I am seeing among that group of people a much higher sensitivity to the environment in which we race all around the country. And I believe it started with that conversation where they were sitting there having to wait on that crazy turtle lady. So I thank you very much for that and the impact that's had, not just here in Pensacola, but also around the country, wherever we travel. Thanks.
All right, now I'll do the proclamations.
Move the proclamations as presented.
Thank you. Second? Second. Second, Commissioner Bergosh. Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. We have the first one for the Employee of the Month. They here? Making our way down, okay.
Oh, it was the one that got pushed, so now it's not an issue. It is secondary to that.
Good evening, sir. Welcome, board. Thank you. Before we have this read, what I'd like to do is just speak briefly about Mrs. Harvey, Ashley, if I may. In our environment, we run a lot of numbers. We work a lot of different things regarding statistics, and public records definitely is a big, huge thing. Ms. Harvey provides a service to our organization and the county as a whole that goes underappreciated. Oddly enough, when the recommendation or the request for recommendations came forward, we had just received an external communication that brought forth Ms. Harvey to the forefront, if you will, thanking her for her communications and her abilities to provide information to the agencies that we serve. She works diligently with not just the numbers, but the criminal justice system as a whole, providing interagency information. And we just thought it was the appropriate time, as well as probably long overdue, to recognize her as employee and recommend her as the Employee of the Month. And we graciously appreciate her being recognized and selected from the group. So without further ado, Captain, please, if you don't mind.
Whereas Escambia County has established an Employee of the Month program to recognize one employee to represent the various departments, and whereas Ashley Harvey, an Administrative Public Record Supervisor in the Corrections Department, is selected as Employee of the Month for November 2021 for the standards of excellence that she has displayed in the performance of her duties, and whereas Ms. Harvey began her employment with the county on May 16, 2017, and provides excellent service to the citizens of Escambia County through all assigned duties, and whereas as the Public Records Supervisor assigned to the Corrections Department, Ashley is designated by the agency to coordinate and administer the records management program for the Escambia County, Florida Corrections Department, and whereas Ashley supervises the inmate record staff at Escambia County Corrections to include prioritizing and assigning work, conducting performance evaluations, ensuring staff are trained, ensuring that employees follow policies and procedures, maintaining a healthy and safe working environment, and making hiring, termination, and disciplinary recommendations. And whereas on September 21st, 2021, Ashley received this letter of appreciation from Assistant State's Attorney Alvin Trey Myers III for providing essential testimony in the state of Florida versus Greg Wayne Clark. Assistant State's Attorney Alvin Trey Myers III praised her extreme cooperation with all requests and applauded her professional and proficient manner while testifying. And whereas Public Records Supervisor Ashley Harvey conducts herself in a professional manner at all times when dealing with staff and the public. She displays a positive attitude and is eager to assist with all requests made to the Public and Inmate Records Department. Ashley is an asset to the Escambia County Corrections Department and should be commended for her exemplary efforts and teamwork within the department. Now therefore there be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida commends and congratulates Ms. Ashley Elizabeth Harvey on her selection as the Employee of the Month for November 2021. Signed, Robert Bender, Chairman, Jeff Burgash, Vice Chairman, Douglas Underhill, District 2, Lumen May, District 3, Stephen Berry, District 5.
Thank you. Well, all I can really say is thank you. I was very surprised to even get this. And, you know, I can't thank anybody else other than my mom, who's in the back, my children who are here as well, and these lovely gentlemen here. So, of course, all of you guys and the people that I work with are just great. And so, you know, I'm just happy. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Ashley, why don't you invite your kids and mother to come take the picture with you? And invite your mother and your kids up. Sure, you spent a lot of time away, and so they deserve the honor as well.
The retirement proclamation was given some another time. Written communication. We have a speaker.
Mr. Chairman, Ashley, thank you for all your work, and I got to make sure you're not going to leave us anytime soon.
We don't have a speaker. We don't have a speaker. All right, sorry, Board, we do not have a speaker for written communication. This is a partial lien relief for property located at 6110 Shag Road.
I can go through it if you wish.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, if my board would indulge me, I would move to support this. I want to thank Dawn Trosh working in the office with this young lady, and move to support the partial lien release as it's requested.
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any further discussion? Please vote.
as well as Tim Day. I think Tim helped with some historical stuff on the property, and thank you, Tim, for that as well.
Doug voting for partial lien relief on written communication. Motion passes 5-0. Did the clerk's office read proof of publication?
Mr. Chairman, the clerk's office has received all proofs.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we waive the reading.
Second.
All right, please vote. I'm waiving the reading.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. The system is it just came up. Sorry, one sec.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I know we're into the agenda, but I did see our esteemed mayor walk in, and welcome to Mayor Robinson.
Yes. Welcome, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for being here. That motion passed 5-0. Public hearing 501, public hearing to consider the vacation of portions of the first, third, and fourth edition of the North Shore Plat and a portion of Inner Shores Plat. We do have one speaker. Oh, sorry, we have 7 speakers. First speaker is David Legendry? Lejean?
I'm David Lejean, 16761 Innerarity Point Road, Livonia Island. So I wanted to talk about why we want to vacate this property. And it goes back to the original plot plan of the neighborhood. This plot plan was designed to be built on grade. So what happens is when you build on grade, the roadways are the highest point, and the water drains off the roadways onto the properties. And then from the properties, it goes into ditches. So 40 years ago, that was a good plan. Today, with base flood elevations at 7, 8, and 9, that plan does not work. So what happens is we have 10 to 20 truckloads of dirt that goes on each property. And it forces the water into the streets because it cannot flow back onto the properties as it used to. So the natural progression is it goes into the streets, it goes into the yards, and then it goes into houses. So right now we have water in the streets, we have water in the yards. We don't have them yet in the houses, and I'm talking about regular rain. I'm not talking about tidal surge. So by taking these 30 acres, and let me just go back to say what we have to drain the land, okay? When you have a plot plan like this, you have ditches, okay? And then you have green spaces, okay? So the green spaces are part of the lots. That's part of our system to drain. So once you pour dirt on the lots, okay, it's got to drain into the street. We don't have subsurface drainage. We don't have ditches. The ditches are behind the property. So that's what's happening. Every lot we fill, every lot we put in commerce, besides this, every lot we put in commerce, the water's pushed into the streets. It's a real problem. And, you know, we're in the ditches. When I say we, I'm talking about me and most of that group behind us. We're in the ditches trying to clean it out, trying to stay in front of it. We're overwhelmed now. It's a funnel effect. We've got too much water coming in and not enough places for the water to go out. These few little ditches that we have is not enough. You add 30 acres of additional water pushing through the neighborhood, we will be way overwhelmed. Because if you look at it like a funnel effect, the top of the funnel is the numerator, the bottom of the funnel, the denominator. If you take the denominator, which is green spaces, ditches, and so forth, if you take those green spaces and push it into the numerator, you know, technically it's called the double whammy, okay? We're getting way more water in and way less chance to get the water out. So this may look like eye candy when you look at it and you say, whoa, there's an opportunity to, you know, have a lot of money coming to the county or to the HOA. But it's a negative. It would cost tens of millions of dollars to subsurface this area and then subsurface out the rest of the neighborhood.
Yes, sir. So are you all here in support of this?
Yes.
Okay. So I think we've gotten to this point through support of the board. Of course, I'm welcome to hear you all, but I think we do have support of the board. So if speakers would want to waive in support, and Commissioner Underhill, is that your intention to move this item forward?
It is my intention to make a motion in the affirmative.
So I have about 6 other speakers, and just didn't know if you would want to speak or waive in support. Waive in support? Waive in support? Okay. So if that's okay with the board,
Yeah,
I don't want to.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it is important to me. One of the things that it's important to me that everybody who wants to speak does get to speak.
Yes, sir.
Because this idea was hatched at the Methodist Church years ago. This is the plan that we had decided upon, or that they decided upon, that I executed, and that this board has given a 5-0 vote every single time it's come up. So, but I do want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to speak that wants to, and so if we have achieved that, then I just want to make it a point to everybody that's here in the audience. Had 100% 5-0 vote of this board, starting with when the now mayor sat in that seat. And it's very important to remember that the citizens of Inner Island got together and they accepted a higher MSBU, because had we sold these properties, it would have resulted in a lower MSBU for them on the island. So that's a massive commitment to stormwater prevention holistically in an area that, you'd think that on an island stormwater would be easy. It's actually really hard because you have so you have limitations you don't have elsewhere. So it is very important that everybody recognize that doing this action, it's the will of the majority of the folks on Inner Island, and that they have accepted a higher financial cost for the sewer and water system there in order to be able to preserve this land. And I think that speaks volumes for the kind of people that live on Inner Island. So I move the item in the affirmative if there are no other speakers.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Again, I'll just want to, like I said, we have Nancy Ellis, Sherry Bean, Randy Bean, Dennis Geary, David Bruni, and Mike Floyd. And all of those are good and waiving in support. Forever hold your peace. Okay. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 4-0 with Commissioner May off the dais.
There are many things here, Mr. Chairman, that we argue very emphatically about, and even perhaps more emphatically on social media. This is one where we've been in 100% support. I know if Lumen was sitting here, based on his past votes on the issue, this would be 5-0. So thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate the long-standing support you've given in Rarity Island.
Thank you. Okay. Clerk and Comptroller's report.
Sure, I have 3 items on the consent agenda. The first one is the investment report for September 30th, 2021. The second is a document that will be filed with the board minutes, and the third are minutes and reports that the clerk to the board has prepared. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move the clerk's report.
Second.
All right, please vote. Motion passes 4-0. Commissioner May off the dais. All right, Horace. 5:15.
Yes, sir. 515 is to review and adopt a smaller scale map amendment, 2021-02, from mixed-use suburban to conservation.
Okay, we do not have any speakers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move in support, move to, in the affirmative, the 515.
Second.
All right, please vote. He's getting it. Motion passes 5-0. 516,
Yes, the next item is to review and to adopt a rezoning case 20-21-06 from low-density residential to conservation.
okay, so we have one speaker, Mike Floyd. He had been a, Mr. Floyd? Yes, sir.
The planning board made a recommendation for approval.
I'm Mike Floyd, 16407 North Shore Court on Inverarity Island, Pensacola 32507. I just want to say thank you for your support of our conservation efforts. This is, as you heard about the, as you know, about the stormwater management issues we face. This is vitally important, I believe, to the future of our island and our community, and we are very grateful for your support in this and look forward to working with you on the remaining steps of the process. So thank you, especially to the staff and to the commissioners as well.
Thank you, Mr. Floyd.
Mr. Chairman, I have to echo that last part. This has been a staff long haul. You know, a lot of staff members for a long time, actually preceding, I mean, the issues for this preceding my time here, but certainly a long haul and a lot of staff members. I move the item in the affirmative.
Second?
Okay, any further discussion, please vote.
Hey, Horace, while we're waiting for that to come up, you take a lot of hits lately. This is one where your staff absolutely nailed it. The diligence that was required, lots and lots of moving parts, nothing but positive things to say about the staff's performance on this very complex issue. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Motion passes 5-0. 516.
515 is the adoption of the zoning maps.
Okay, no public speakers.
Move the item in the affirmative.
Second?
Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. 517, we have two speakers.
Yes, sir. This is the first of the two, this transmittal hearing. Small scale 20-2004. First
So this
of
is
two.
the Midwest Sector Plan.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Will Dunaway?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will Dunaway on behalf of the applicant, 125 East Intendencia. We also have Ms. Laura Gutcher, who is here, who will present the evidence after staff on their presentation. If there are any questions, we're here and available.
Okay.
And we're just saying the planning board and staff concur, and there was concurrence and agreement.
Horace, step on up. Okay, we can't.
Yes, sir.
I was going to say step up. We couldn't really
Yes,
hear
sir.
you.
Yes, I want to say that staff agreed, looked at the findings of facts, and staff and the planning board made a recommendation for agreement with staff.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If Mr. Dunaway is alluding to the other person to make testimony in support of the item, I'm in support of the item and don't have an issue with it if they'd like to waive in support of that, if there's not feedback or comments from my colleagues.
Laura, is that?
Correct. Ms. Gutcher's report is part of your package. That's been submitted to you. It was part of the staff package, so that's there. She's here, again, questions and in support, and if there's no necessary for her testimony, we're standing by.
If she gets paid extra to speak, then she's welcome to speak. If she doesn't, then I'm happy to move the item.
Seems like she gets paid, she wants to talk.
Apparently.
I mean, but, she's winning now, though.
Yeah, she is.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight before you. My name is Alara Mills Gutcher, and I'm a certified land use planner, and I have conducted the analysis that you have in your packet in support of this request. I'm here to answer any questions that you have, and this is a transmittal hearing to DEO.
Thank you.
Move the 517 hearing.
Second. Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
518.
The paramutual, Mr. Andrew Holm, is going to present if there's any questions. This is the first of 2 public hearings.
Do we have speakers on this one?
We have Mr. Dunaway.
Again, only if you have questions, but I would stand in support of
So I'll just say, Board, I am supportive of the opportunity for them to operate. I personally would have liked to have seen some conditional uses coming out of the planning board, which did not come forward. As some of you know, that there was a location selected that potentially received a lot of pushback from the residents around there. And I think if we moved forward with what was presented by the planning board, that it, the applicant could acquire that property and move forward without any feedback from the community. I think there's also a robust discussion that's going to be had in Tallahassee during this session regarding casinos and such. And I'm wondering if it may be prudent to wait for that to occur.
Mr. Chairman, that was my sentiments exactly. Why are we going out in front on this? There's no impetus for us to rush it, and I agree with you. I think this needs a lot more consideration by the board. It's a hot button issue. It's a lightning rod issue. Some people are very, very much opposed to it. So I don't see the harm in tabling this or dropping the item. And we can bring it back after the legislature does what they're going to do, and we can bring it back and add the additions and the safeguards. And for the people who are watching, just something important to know. This doesn't guarantee they're going to put something in Escambia County. I think the way it's being allowed to happen is 1 per every 100-mile radius. So they're going to be regional issues.
So in this case, I believe Mr. Dunaway's client, if you want to say anything, but they are looking for a relocation in which the 100-mile would not apply because they had already gotten the license prior to that becoming into effect.
But I'm not in a rush to do it, so if you want to drop it, you'd have my support.
Okay.
Not in a rush. We shouldn't be in a rush.
If that's a motion, I second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to address that issue
sir.
just for the board. Again, understand this activity is occurring in Escambia County now. It has been for decades. The location that, as you know, is out where it's always been. The issue is where it might be able to relocate. This is a state licensing parimutuel for a card game facility. This is allowed by your code now. So you allow this in Escambia County. It is allowed from a standpoint of where is the question. We addressed this with the planning board, and the issue is the only reason that this was not, the zoning letter was not signed by your staff was because it doesn't specifically call for it to be a permitted use in any one zoning district. In fact, it's not called out to be the use in the zoning district that it's in today. This is simply clarifying where do you want this activity to be in the future. Do you want it in residential? We certainly don't think so. Your planning board decided that the 2 areas, the zoning district should be commercial and or HCLI, which seems perfectly reasonable. Again, it's not an issue of whether this can occur. You already allow it. Your code already allows it. It's what district. And again, to not act on it, it puts us in a situation in which we can't do anything except for the status quo. I made the analogy at planning board, which I'll make to you again. Your code does not address where you can do an axe throwing business, and yet you have an axe throwing business on North Davis. Perfectly legitimate. Your code doesn't tell you where you can do a cross-stitching or scrapbooking business, because your code doesn't say and call out every particular business for permitted uses. It calls out districts in which that make sense. Commercial is a district that makes sense. HCLI is a district that makes sense. Your staff was asked and came up with a solution to make this a listed permitted use in those 2 districts. Your planning board has recommended that. We ask that you act on it. so that this can be in your code, so that the use that is allowed by you can have a location to operate in. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
There's a motion, second.
Commissioner Berry, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I concur with y'all's comments. I mean, there's going to be a lot of discussion in Tallahassee about, not just this issue, but expanded gaming as a broad topic. I mean, there's well-funded lobbying efforts on both sides, parimutuel entitlements that they will have is a huge part of that conversation. We certainly have had one of those properties, as Mr. Dunaway stated, for many decades here. I think all of the board recognizes that they have rights, they've had rights, but with this, I think there are issues historically that perhaps the state, could have taken up in a more timely manner, but were not taken up for a period of years and a period of time. And, maybe local governments at that time had the ability to say, well, we'll just wait on the state, we'll wait on the state. This is an issue because of the clear associated revenue related to it. It is an issue that's going to be taken up very quickly with some resolution. And I think that may clarify what is going to happen in the county, and then thereby kind of what our directions would be. And I don't think it's a situation where by us not taking action today, it's put off in perpetuity, because there are going to be things, within the next few months. I think that they're going to have to come to some resolution. I mean, there's, tens of millions of dollars of PACs on either side of the issue that are going to come to a head, and they're going to resolve something some way. So,
yes, sir.
So I'm supportive of what you and Commissioner Burgash said.
Okay. Well, thank you. So, Doug, did you make the motion then?
Yeah,
To
motion
drop it?
Motion was to
Motion
drop.
second. We good? All right. Please
I
vote.
believe it was just motion, my second. Is that our call? Is that correct? Yeah.
Yep. How Delana has it.
Yeah, no need to rush that one.
So motion to drop the 518 passes 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, may I address just one issue? The question, is there any direction from the board to the planning director? Because the application that is before him is an application for a zoning verification. That is, where can this occur in the county? He has to make a decision on that. Where does this occur in the county? Do we get any direction from the board on where this can exist? In what zoning district or beyond?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Horace, if you would please come to the podium. Based on the information that you have in our current codes and the information that's been presented here tonight and that the board has said, do you have the ability to execute your duties with regard to this request that's before you?
I have my ability to follow the direction of the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay. So there's no reason that you would need additional information from us at this time to be able to execute your duties fairly and promptly with regard to the...
Your motion is clear for me to follow.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Berry?
If Will's asking for something, my impression would be that activities are permitted where they're currently taking place. That would be the extent of what I think the board's direction is, short of anything else.
That's what we currently have. So, well, all right. Thank you. 519?
Yes, I'm sorry, excuse me. 519, it's this is the second of two public hearings regarding the Oil of Fate. This is the implementing regulation and implementing plan. This is the second of the two.
Okay. We don't have any speakers, but I was going to give Commissioner in District 1 a little indifference at least to be here for the vote. But
No, that's okay.
I think he's happy with it.
I think so too, and I just want to thank everybody in that process. Here he comes. Okay.
He's running back.
OLFA, Jeff, come on.
Jeff, are you happy with this and moving forward?
I'm
I'm extremely happy, and I think this is a big night for our county, and I appreciate y'all holding off the vote till I got back. A lot of work has gone into this, and I think this vote will allow us to start really moving forward with the plans and really working to bring jobs here and offload some of that property and get some of our investment back. So, it's a big night for Escambia County, so I appreciate that.
And Jeff, any sale of the land, anything comes back to us, correct?
It comes back to LOFS, the local option sales. Oh,
But I'm saying any decision, Jeff, any decision comes back before this board.
yeah, absolutely, yes. Yeah, this is just, and so I would move this in the affirmative.
Second.
Okay. Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. 520.
Yes, sir. 5 is to review and adopt this development agreement between Leroy Subdivision and Escambia County. To
All right.
review and approve.
So 520, we have Will Dunaway.
You speaking in support of the settlement, Will? Okay. Yeah, okay. So in the essence of saving some time, I'll move the item in the affirmative.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to be voting in favor of this, and with a heavy heart, right? But this is the one that we knew when we put the AIPD in place. We knew this one was kind of hanging out there as the worst-case scenario, and I would hope that, I know that for myself, it certainly is not precedent in any way, but preserving the overall ACUs is more important than this one. So this is a tactical loss, but I think necessary to maintain a strategic win for the Southwest sector and the protection of our military installations.
Yes, sir, I agree. Thank you. All right. Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. 521.
521, this is the first of the 2 public hearings concerning the ACUS AIPD Land Development Code ordinance.
No speakers.
Move the item in the affirmative.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion, please vote.
It's a big deal, too. It's a good thing.
Madam Attorney, are we good on the next items?
Items 1, 2, and, was there a vote on the last one?
Yeah, as it was pulling up.
Yeah.
Item passed 5-0.
GMR action items 2-1, 2-2, and 2-3 all need to be dropped this evening. There are a handful of issues that address the different ones, but there's one underlying theme, which is that all 3 need to pay their property taxes. And so the tax collector reached out this afternoon to say that they're not ripe to go forward tonight.
Mr. Chairman,
go ahead.
I was just going to, were there any speakers before?
No, sir, they're not.
Okay, I'm sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, there's also been some issues with some of these, the engineering of some of these ponds and stuff. So just the citizens to see, the developers don't just walk up here and get what they want. We've gone back and forth with Deer Run. We've gone back and forth with Jennings Place. We're picking up so much of the messes from 10, 15, 20 years ago that in my district, I'm speaking for myself, I'm watching these things like an eagle. I know staff are, because once we accept one of these ponds, if they're in the construction stage and we got red clay coming out and we got silt fencing falling down and we got problems, guess what? It comes, and just like tonight, it gets dropped. And that's what it's going to keep getting dropped until it's right.
And one of them also needs its ECUA water capacity letter, which they also didn't have in time.
Yeah.
So they're just issues, they'll come back when they're ready.
All right.
All right, I'll take a motion then.
Drop all 3?
Second.
Perfect. So motion to drop GMR action items 2-1, 2-2, 2-3 passes 5-0. Consent agenda for GMR.
Yes, sir. And we do have consent agenda for November the 16th and December the 2nd. With on December the 2nd, the 547 was dropped from the planning board.
Move the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Please vote.
Mr. Chairman, while y'all are voting, I'd just like to take an opportunity to thank Horace and his staff for all the hard work they do.
Thank you.
They take a lot sometimes, but, you know, Horace and his staff, they always proceed ahead and they do a good job. And Horace, I want to thank you and Drew for the way y'all lead development services.
Thank you, County
Thank you.
Administrator and Board of County Commissioners. Thank you for your support.
All right. On the technical public card 1, there are 17 items. Wes, are we dropping 16? Until we can, which is our schedule that? Okay, so we're going to drop 16. Board on 17, this was something that came in yesterday. It is, the railroad is going after a grant to help replace and repair some of their areas and reinforce things that would allow for some more capacity. And it had a deadline of this coming Monday, so I went ahead and put it on. I think it was distributed to the county attorney, if there are any questions on that.
Mr. Chairman, do we have any speakers on any of these items?
No, sir, we don't.
Nothing?
No, I have a couple of comments. Item 3, well, do you want to move?
Yeah, we need to hold item 3 and have a question for item 4. And that's, yeah, I need to hold item 3 for a disclosure.
Mr. Chairman, it's not necessary to hold 12 and 13. Well, I won't speak to 13. 13's not mine, but it's similar issue. Mr. Administrator, can we have the items come to the board before this new signage gets put up?
Yes, sir, we can. In this particular instance, we had placed some speed tables, and so the signage is going up in support of the speed, in conjunction with the speed tables there.
Yeah, I'm not sure any of it was, okay.
Yeah, I
if we
understand,
could
I
please-
certainly understand the request.
Okay,
And
thank you.
absolutely will
Thank you.
honor the request, absolutely.
And Rob, we don't even have, on Claire or Wes, I mean, what's going on with the TIF districts of Cantonment, Ansley, Atwood, and Oakville?
I'm a little bit familiar with this, if you want me. This is a
Yeah,
housekeeping item. Some of those are, over the last several years, the board has sometimes adjusted upward and downward the amount that's being held in the TIF trust fund for those different TIF districts. Technically, if you're going forward under the CRA statute, you're required to keep 95% in the TIF trust fund. We have for probably 15 years or more adjusted upward and downward depending on the budget, numbers less than 95%, and doing that would, in my opinion, makes it a home rule TIF district. Home rule TIF districts are legal, but this is, I think, some new staff that's doing some housekeeping to make it clear which authority you're traveling under.
All right, so
So we
I'm
got
just
some
going
new staff that knows what they're doing, is that what we're saying?
So Commissioner May, you'd wanted to hold 3 and 4, which
No,
four is
no.
concerning the scheduling and advertising of.
I don't have to hold 4.
No, not holding 4.
I just hold 3.
All right, holding 3. Commissioner Berry, did you have anything you wanted to hold?
So item 3, is Clara here? Yeah, do you mind? Or whoever can speak to the Johnson Lakes request?
And meanwhile, can we move the balance?
Or, I'm
Well,
sorry.
Well, I just want to make sure I get everybody while we're, because I have a question on 15
And, Mr. Chairman, whenever it happens, maybe next week, maybe the week after, whenever we finalize redistricting, this is going to be a District 4 issue. And I see Grover. I don't remember, Grover, if you and I had talked about Johnson Lakes Apartments issues over time, not up here. What exactly is the request for Johnson Lakes? What are we doing by the extension?
So this really is an informational item for you guys. There's no change to the county owns a second mortgage. They are going to Florida Housing to extend their mortgage with Florida Housing an additional 5 years. They're not taking out any additional funds. There's no change in the ownership entity, and there's no change to the county's mortgage. So this is just an informational item to advise us that they are extending the affordability for Johnson Lakes out for another 5 years.
Mr. Chairman, it's still them asking us for something. I've gotten a tremendous amount of complaints from residents at Johnson Lakes about the facility, the management, the treatment of them, the maintenance of the property, the maintenance of the parking lot, the grounds, as well as the inside of the apartments. I realize that it sounds like they can do whatever they want to do, but I don't want to be complicit and supportive of that entity. I would rather drop this, not take any action. They can still do whatever they want to do, but at least we wouldn't be signing off in support of the project because and it's not 50 complaints, but it is a dozen over the years.
I'll second it.
Yeah, thank you. And, no offense, like I said, I'm sure they can accomplish whatever they're trying to accomplish without our support, but I don't want to be supportive of it, until we get some better behavior. And Robert, it's one of the, few areas in that precinct that you're going to be acquiring. It's a very nice precinct, a very healthy precinct, but this is one of the very small amount of problems that you're going to inherit there.
Perfect, okay. So, and I can, so we're going to drop, well,
Motion is to drop 3, move the balance, dropping 3.
well, we wanted to drop 16. I wanted to make sure there was nothing else. And
I'm sorry.
if I could just talk about 15 real quick.
We're gonna drop 4, so I ain't got to even vote on that.
Well, we want to take Commissioner Berry's
Oh, I'm
item as a
sorry.
standalone.
Well, if we want to drop 3, 4, and was it 15, Robert? I'm sorry.
16.
16, I'm sorry. And that's my motion. If you'll make some comments about
Sure.
15, then we'll
If
take
I can make some
action.
comments about
Yeah.
15.
I'll second it for discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you. So with this we're having a hold harmless and indemnification agreement with Pensacola Downtown Improvement Board for the Fufu Festival. I was a little disappointed to hear that they requested that we take down the awnings of the old courthouse, which we were going to do anyway, but we're making them pay the $5,000 to do it. So just didn't sit right with me that even though they made the request, it probably accelerated the time frame and what we wanted to do it, but they sustained hurricane damage. I don't know how we can't claim that with the rest of the, so I didn't know if the board wanted to find a way to cover that expense and not charge that back to DIB and Fufu Fest. I think there's I don't see Mark in here.
Yeah, we can charge it to them.
But I mean,
We'll see if they pay.
$5,000, I think we can find some way to pay for it through our
But
recovery.
if it was damaged on insurance, it ought to be paid from insurance or FEMA.
Some of them were damaged and the rest, they determined that the historically, the building did not have awnings, and so they were not going to replace them. So we should still get some money for that because.
Is that true?
Well, facilities ought to be able to tell us that. I mean,
I got an email about it, that they've gone back to the archives of the archives, I guess, and determined that we didn't have awnings on there at one point, so.
Well, there was a time it probably didn't have plumbing either, but I don't think.
well, yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, Robert, I was on the 4th floor today, and I mean, we had people doing Winterfest work when, I got doors at the homework in community centers and people putting up lights for other people. There has to be a value of the time. So, I mean, I would agree with you. If that's an insurance claim or a FEMA claim, we should be getting paid. Someone here should know that. I mean, we got a lot of employees. I mean, you can't tell me someone doesn't know whether or not it's a claim.
Let's try it, and if it doesn't work out, Wes has the ability to pay it. It's under administrator's level, but let's try to pursue it from somewhere else. I'm supportive of that.
Okay.
Like you said, Robert, let's try. And
Yeah.
if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
All right.
Wes didn't even have to bring it to the board, Robert, honestly.
Trying to remember if they had.
But those awnings do have some antique value to it. I'm sure that they could probably be eBayed somewhere and made a lot of money off of them. We didn't toss them, did we? Good.
They're still up right now.
They have a lot of historic value. They were put up there before I could walk down Palafox, so I'm sure they have a lot of value.
So it doesn't look like in the contract that we're passing, it actually talks about the $5,000, so, but I'm fine leaving it in if we can just find some way to cover that ourselves. All right.
So how do you want to do it?
I think we just have direction that on.
Yeah, I think what Stephen said, Robert, I mean, try insurance, try FEMA, if not, then, there it is.
Yep, okay. but I don't see it in the contract in cursory review, but.
I mean, they were damaged when.
They were damaged.
There's no way an awning was not damaged on
Right.
Palafox
And I
Street.
guarantee you that the cost to take down the remaining awnings is a lot less than putting up new ones.
So if one awning was damaged and they couldn't repair it back to the identical, they're all damaged. They've all been
Right.
compromised. That's an
Yep.
insurance claim. I
Yep.
mean, that's insurance 101. So I'm sure our risk management can handle that.
Okay.
I mean, so if half of them were damaged, they all were damaged. You can't, they're too old to be able to replace them identical. So if it's an insurance claim, if we got one under the claim, I'm sure the adjuster will have them all under the claim.
Okay.
So that would be my support, Robert.
All right.
That insurance, and I would like for them to tell us why they're not
Yes, sir.
under the claim.
We'll find that. All right, so we're dropping 3 and 16. Are we holding 4 or are we dropping 4?
Dropping 4.
Dropping 4. Okay.
That my second stance?
Okay. You good? All right, please vote.
I'm good on 4, Steve.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
4 is good.
4 is good?
3 is dropped, 4 is good.
Yes, that's the motion, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry.
So, well, just restate it for clarity.
It was dropping 3.
Dropping 3 and 15?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
3 and 16.
16, I'm
3
sorry.
and 16.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we're
Who's on
keeping
first?
4.
Second?
All right,
Yeah.
please vote. Commissioner May. It reset for me. All right, motion passes 5-0. Okay, Board, Mayor's already made his way up here, so I wanted to see if there was any discussion on item 40, which is the interlocal agreement between us and the city for the Roger Scott Tennis Center.
Where is it? What are you talking about?
Were we going to take a motion on the balance? Is that what we?
We did. We did motion, we
I
passed
thought
the
we
rest, dropping.
Okay, I thought we were dropping. Are you good on that? So we passed it? Okay, all right.
Okay, any discussion on 40? Mr. Mayor, do you want to say anything?
I'm here to answer any questions. Certainly appreciate your support, and we think we can do great things for the community, county and city residents with this. This will be a good thing.
Okay, I don't have any speakers.
Move the item in the affirmative.
All right,
Second?
thank you.
Mr. Mayor, did you make it east today?
I did.
You did? Well, congratulations. I believe Grover was honored today by the Transportation Symposium for a career dedicated to public service and a lot of accomplishments in the transportation arena during those periods of service. 15 years plus now, give or take. And I believe you were supposed to be there this morning, and you might have had some words from a former colleague that got up at 4 o'clock to drive down there for the thing, but then I heard we're going to be there this afternoon, and I was unable to stay, but congratulations.
Thank you very much. They Austin didn't tell me which Beach Hilton it was at, so I thought it was at Pensacola Beach. And we had LEAP today. I think y'all had LEAP.
Yeah.
Maybe had here. We had LEAP at this
We
morning.
here and, Pensacola Beach Hilton was hosting an air show. Actually, on that real quick, I do want to thank the Hilton. And we voted on that, right? Motion 5-0. So when we decided to move the air show out to the beach, the base had already sent out some invitations to some kids that had gone through treatments and procedures at Sacred Heart Hospital to come enjoy the show today. And so we wanted to make sure we honored that request. The Hilton, Innisfree, a number of sponsors came together and gave the kids that were able to come, they gave them a goodie bag, they gave them lunch, the family's lunch, and so I was able to stop by today, and so I did want to recognize them for their efforts to go out of their way to make it special for those families who have been through so much in the past year. So I just wanted to recognize that. So, but glad you finally found your way to the right Hilton.
Yeah, but congratulations.
Good.
I mean,
Thank-
it was,
thank you
I mean,
very
were-
much.
You were the only elected
Thank you.
official to be recognized out of, 8 counties, 10 counties, whatever our district is. So that's something.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm sorry, I would have loved to have been there. I was on the way this morning until I found out it wasn't the Pensacola Hilton.
So you did not make it, Mr. Mayor?
This afternoon I did, not this morning. I had to leap, I had to turn around. There was no way I could get to do the stuff in the morning and still get back for leap at City Hall this morning.
Well, you should have heard the kind words that our chairman spoke about you this morning with the LEAP class. I was in attendance, so very, very.
Much more frightening listening to about Commissioner May. His first item that he ever pushed was so he could wear shorts in school. But he's still won with 90% on the vote. There seems to be a common theme there.
Yeah, 91%.
91%,
Yeah,
okay.
91.
Must be the legs.
You got to be the legs.
So
congratulations, Mr.
thank
Mayor.
you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Board, for that.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to go seeing the Foo Fest on the front of the old courthouse, so that should be good. Hopefully you all will be finished and can join us out there.
Well, since you're off the board, I'm sure we will be done a little quicker.
All right. Let's hear. Sonia, I know you're here to speak on all your items for the Supervisor of Elections.
Did we vote on number 40, Mr. Chairman?
I'm just here for questions.
Yes, okay. So, Board, on the next items, so we've already done item 40. Jeff, I saw your item here at the end for Epps Christian Center for the Thanksgiving meal for the community. I'd like to match that.
Oh, thank you very much.
If we, I talked to.
Did you give, Jeff?
500?
1,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1,000? Yeah.
I did 1,000 last year, so I was going to.
And I'll add on 500 to it.
Okay.
Right on.
So we'll amend 45. So we'll be holding 10 and 28 for speakers. Sonia was the speaker for 34 through 38, but she's only here to answer questions if we have any on the Supervisor of Elections.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I might, I see that Commissioner Berry is giving to the Men's Barn meeting, and I would like to match that contribution. I think I was supposed to do it last month, and I don't, so I want to, Commissioner Berry, I want to tag on with you on that and put a 1,500 on
Yeah,
there.
thank you. I'm sure Jim and Scott Porter will be very appreciative of that. Jeff.
Absolutely. They do great work up there, so.
They do. I've had the occasion to speak to both of them this week, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I need to drop car 2.
The Men's Barn meeting up in Cantonment, up in North County.
Okay.
Okay. So, Board, we have speakers on.
Come to, for the lacrosse team as well?
I am.
At PHS?
I certainly am.
So if you would, Jeff, I'll tag $500 onto that.
Oh, man, they will greatly appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner May.
Not a problem.
So right now, we've got 10 and 28 being held for speakers. We're dropping item 20. I'd like to hold 32 for discussion.
Yeah, I want to hold 32 as well, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Any other items to be held?
Give me just 1 minute, Commissioner.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, did you say hold 20?
Drop 20.
Drop 20. Okay, thank you.
And I'll just highlight item 27. Board recently implemented a recruitment incentive policy. It's being amended so that the net.
Generous. It's very generous.
It is, but the net is $2,000.
Wow. That's not back pay, that's just a recruitment pay.
That is recruitment, yes, sir. We also have 10 dump trucks on here that Public Works will be selling some old trucks, and we look to get those, be successful in the resale of some of those that we had, like we did last year.
So, Wes, so if we hire a new custodial service, are they a part of this as well? Or, I mean, what bonus does a custodial person get?
It'd be $2,000 sign.
So they're a part of it on the facilities?
Absolutely.
They would be, I just didn't see custodial on the facilities
Yes, sir.
manager.
Yes, sir, it is.
All right.
Okay.
And- But we're holding that for more discussion.
We're not,
32?
was he talking, he was talking about.
He was talking about the sign-on
He was
That's number
talking-
27. I mean, we
I'm
can
sorry.
hold
Oh,
it.
you're just talking about employee.
Yeah,
employee
but we are
portion.
holding
I'm sorry,
32.
Not the contract, okay.
Yeah, we are holding 32.
Mr. Chairman, and forgive me, this did get added. I didn't see it yesterday when I was looking at it. I'd like to also add $500 to Lipscomb Elementary School's Veterans Day Parade.
Thank you,
That's,
Commissioner Berry. I know they'll appreciate that.
Yeah, she does great work. I didn't, we've got a couple of parades in that little 3-school area. I didn't realize that they did a Veterans Day parade. I know they celebrated, but yeah, happy to be supportive of that.
Okay. All right, so we're holding 10, 28, and 32 for speakers or discussion, dropping item 20,
All right, Mr. Chairman, I would move the balance. Comfortable with the rest.
Second.
and 40's already been voted on. Okay. All right, Sonia, thank you.
I guess Mr. Stafford's had enough of this board for 1 week.
Motion passed 5-0. All right, item 10 is the Beach Haven. We have Lois Benson is on here. There she is. How you doing, Ms. Benson? And Bruce Woody are here to speak. And we'll go ahead, and then Melissa Pino. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, Madam Clerk, Madam Attorney, the clerk staff, Mr. Administrator. My name is Lois Benson. I live at 520 East Zaragoza Street, in case you want to write that down. I represent District 2 on the ECUA board, and I'm chairman of that board as well. I want to thank you for the discussion I heard earlier today. We have so many exciting things going on right now with Fufu Festival, the Arts Festival. I watched the Blue Angels practice today, and you all have been so supportive of those things. But when I listen to this discussion, I hear again that the thing that brings people here and keeps people here are our beaches, our bays, our waterways, the turtles, the quality of life of this community that we call home. I know you take this very seriously, as do we on the ECUA board. And I've enjoyed the partnership that we have had as we have gone through sewer expansion over on the west side. You've done the stormwater work. We've done the sewer expansion. It costs us each a little less by doing it that way, and the neighborhoods are less disruptive. That has been a great partnership, and that's why I was so happy when the Ecosystem Restore Council gave us that grant to expand that into Beach Haven. We had the matching funds, you know about the bid, what happened. We had the money to cover our part, and then it was rebid. And when it came back, we were $1.5 million short of what we needed to do our part of this important project. Our board at the last meeting voted for another $250,000 to bring our commitment to $2 million, but we're still $1.5 million short of what we need to do this very important project to help get septic tanks from leaching into ultimately the waterway. The state has granted communities funds for things like septic to sewer, for other infrastructure items. What I would like to respectfully request is that you give us $1.5 million toward this project out of your ARPA grant that's $61 million. This project is so important, and it's expensive to do without grants like this, so we would appreciate your consideration. I have Stacy Hayden here, who is our engineer, and Mr. Bruce Woody, if you have specific questions for them.
Mr. Chairman, do you mind, can you clarify the 1.5 that you're referring to? Or can we clarify, or?
Sure.
Robert, are you aware of what she's asking for?
So I know that, the ECOA board voted to increase some of the dollars that they were sending.
Yeah, they were on it for 1.7 something, and they added 250, so they're at 2
Right.
million now. What's the 1.5?
Well, it's the shortfall from, it was bid originally, and we had a commitment. And
1.5, it's like 4.
We're already having to put a bunch of ARPA money in. Are you talking about additional?
Yeah.
Are we
this
talking about?
this is additional ARPA money that we're asking for.
We haven't put any ARPA money in towards this
Well,
project yet.
it's you're right, but the way it was presented was 4.1 or something going in.
From the general fund, correct? Last time?
No, it was ARPA.
It was ARPA.
It was ARPA on the way it was presented 2 weeks ago was 4.1 of ARPA money going in. But my question is are you talking about another 1.5 of ARPA to help ECUA's portion? I don't understand.
Mr. Chairman, could I get Mr. Hayden to come up or Mr. Bruce Woody to come up and explain to you the dollar allocations?
No, it's
There we
a
go.
simple question. Are they?
It's included in the 4.
So theirs is a component of the 4.1? Okay,
The
all right.
1.5 is included in the 4, it's part of the sewer. So it's all included in that 4.
Okay, so what?
It's a portion of it.
What Ms. Benson is talking about is not new to our board, is part
Correct.
of our discussion from last time. Okay, all
That's
right.
correct.
All right, I'm
And
sorry.
And I thought it was under general fund dollars. It wasn't ARPA. It
No, I
was
don't
the,
think so.
it was what had been the CARES
I
money.
don't think so.
The,
That's not what I mean.
Is that not it?
I believe she's
It was part of the
asking,
ARPA.
I make
I believe
mistakes every
she's
day.
asking
I
us to
apologize
use
every day. I
our
could be wrong. I apologize every day, Robert. I could be wrong. I thought it was ARPA.
yeah, I thought it said general fund dollars.
Well, one thing we're going to figure out.
If I recall right, it's part of the ARPA
That's what we're going to do.
recommendation that the board approved at the last meeting.
Well,
I don't,
I'll verify.
sorry, I'll pull it up, but
Mr.
we'll,
Chairman?
yes, sir.
If I could. The ARPA is very specific, that wastewater and water projects are standalone projects. They do not have to be included in the lost revenue funds that we've already received. So when you talk about general fund and you talk about the lost revenue funds, this would not be part of that. This would be a standalone ARPA project under the wastewater and water portion.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Do you want to hear the rest of the speakers? I just wanted Board Member Benson to clarify that one thing, and I apologize.
Sure. One of the other ones, Bruce Woody, I don't know if you have any remarks to say, or if you're just here to let us know that you're here. Welcome. Good to see you again.
Certainly don't want to further confuse things. Thank you very much, Commissioners, for your support of this overall project. It's an important project for the ECUA and opportunities to be a community partner and to make our mutual funds go further are an advantage to our ratepayers and your customers as well. As was already mentioned, Resolution GR 21-116 was approved October 26th by our ECUA board, adding additional funds totaling our contribution now to $2 million. As was mentioned, you are contributing funds as well to help this project go forward using your grant funds. Thank you for that assistance, and we look forward to working together on this project.
Thank you, Bruce. Melissa Pino?
Mr. Chairman, while she's walking up, so item B on the agenda, the narrative is approve the allocation from Fund 119 Cost Center ARPA for 4.195.
Okay, so if that's the case, which I don't think is how it was in the last time. It was general fund last time. This is saying that the 28 million that we put in as lost revenue, which we did approve last time, this was not a specific project that was spelled out in what we approved last time.
No, clearly.
Right.
And I'm
Clearly,
not
we
saying-
hadn't decided we were going to spend that
and I'm not-
$28 million.
Right.
So we're not going to start deciding right now how we're going to spend that money. I mean,
exactly.
with all due respect, I mean, we spend a lot of CRA money on sewers and those type of things, and so I'm going to be supportive. But, you know, my representative from District 3 is not here, but I got developed areas in District 3 that are on septic tanks. That's ridiculous in a developed area. So if we're going to start approving that, we're going to approve a whole lot of other stuff for sewer in District 3.
And actually, I was going to, Ms.
Mr.
Benson,
Chairman,
as you were
it's-
mentioning, as we work together, we heard about Woodcock Lane and not having sewer, and we're having to go in and lower the road and stuff like that. So, of course, I've been talking to Kevin Stevens and a few others. So hopefully, it's a small project that we could also work jointly on. I think
Brownsville is the oldest
great
neighborhood, and we're
opportunities to do
putting
that.
CRA dollars. I mean, the oldest neighborhood in Escambia County does not have complete septic. It's ridiculous. I mean, when we have newer neighborhoods, and we have the oldest neighborhood in Escambia County, and we've been taking our CRA dollars that we can put, we've not just been putting them for sidewalks and water, but we're putting them into sewer. I mean, something that represents all of Pensacola, that's downtown Pensacola, doesn't have complete sewer. And so I want to have the overall, I'm going to be supportive. I like the project, but we're going to have an overall conversation about sewer in Escambia County before I make a vote to support any sewer project, when I have existing neighborhoods that have been there since the beginning of Escambia County without sewer. So there has to be a real partnership, Lois, and I should, quite frankly, with ECUA in the county for us to be supportive. So if you're asking us for support, I want to give it, but I'm going to ask for support from ECUA tonight for the oldest neighborhoods that connect to our city, to get Brownsville and Inglewood, the oldest neighborhoods in Escambia County, sewer.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes, ma'am.
respond? Interestingly, in this budget, we had a recommendation for a no rate increase, and that certainly means a lot to our customers. We actually adopted a rate increase in order to fund Brownsville, because we expect some state money to come in, and we want the state to know that Brownsville is our very high priority in getting this existing neighborhood, one of the most historic commercial areas in our community. We're absolutely committed to it, and we actually, you know what it feels like to raise rates or raise taxes. We did it because we believe in it. So
And Lois, I appreciate, and I hate to be so passionate about it, but
No.
you're absolutely right. When we talk about economic development, we have commercial corridors in Brownsville on Cervantes, a major corridor in Escambia County, where, whether it be Jordan Valley, whether it be Oscars, they couldn't expand because they don't have sewer. And the oldest neighborhood in Escambia County doesn't have sewer. And we've taken CRA dollars, millions, Claire, and you can tell me how much we spent, millions of dollars that we could have used for lights or whatever, to put forth our commitment to having sewer. And so if we're going to have the sewer conversation, let's take care of the least of them. And Brownsville is the oldest neighborhood, so how could they have been ignored other than the lack of leadership on both sides for not acknowledging? And I'm not going to let that be on my watch.
well, it got 5 votes from our board, so I think you've got a partnership. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So, Commissioner May, it's funny, on the one hand, it doesn't have anything to do with it, on the other hand, it has everything to do with it, because Brownsville, that's right.
I just can't support me going there and I don't have sewer in Brownsville.
So the important thing that's going to result in real change in Brownsville with regard to septic to sewer is bringing the commercial district of Brownsville online as with commercial sewer. And with that, then you have the infrastructure, the backbone, if you will, that'll be able to provide services to the residential areas. We've pushed that now for a couple of years. I know you've worked on it in terms of beginning it as a we're going to have some state help to do that. There's in part because the corridor is a state highway. This year, as we're in a best place that we've ever been, because we've done all of the due diligence over the years. We've got a solid plan. ECUA has a solid plan, and also, Tallahassee has come to grips with the fact that this is important enough for Tallahassee to throw money at statewide. So we are well positioned to do precisely what you just said. And in fact, as we approach into the legislative session, my intent is to actually put $500,000 of my discretionary to that project, sworn to that project, because when you go to Tallahassee with an empty hat, you come home with an empty hat. ECUA's put their money in. I'm bringing in $500,000 of my discretionary for my last year in office to do precisely that, to show Tallahassee our commitment.
And we've just made it clear. We've just put $1 million. How much did we just put in the septic program in Brownsville? I can't hear you from there. Can you come to the podium?
She said over $1 million.
Well, over $1 million? Okay. All right. So what I'm saying, though, we're making commitments. We put over $1 million into a sewer project in Brownsville.
Yep, and I think that with that message properly articulated to Tallahassee, I think we come home with a lot more than an empty hat this time for the commercial corridor.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Good evening, Commissioners. Just wanted to reiterate.
Sorry, just state your name for the record.
Sorry, Stacy Hayden, work with ECUA, 960 Nowak Road, Cantonment, Florida. I do wanted to, let you know that Lee Street drainage project, that's a drainage and sewer expansion project as well. That's the backbone for future sewer expansion within Brownsville. And we also have the $250,000 grant fund that we got from legislative delegation a couple of years ago. That's, we're trying to get a project out the door right now, and we're advertising in the very near future to get that project going. That's going to be another part of the puzzle, if you will, that we can kind of spread out the gravity sewer from that portion. So, and as Ms. Benson pointed out, we've, committed a great deal of funds, budget to sewer expansion in Brownsville, and look forward to that moving forward. We also applied for millions of dollars in grant funds from the state of Florida, and we hope to, bring some of that home to us.
And Stacey, and with all due respect, I know you do a great job, and God bless the dead and Elva McCarvey. But here's the issue with septic to sewer. The underserved, historically African-American neighborhoods, whether it be Shantytown, whether it be Tan Yard, whether it be Inslee, or whether it be Brownsville, poor neighborhoods have fallen behind in getting sewer. They pay the same amount of money to flush their toilet and cut their water on. And those neighborhoods have been left out, and that's my issue. These are the older neighborhoods, and unfortunately, the only time they get sewer is when they get redeveloped with people that don't traditionally live there. And so I want to be supportive, but I just want an overall plan of how are we going to get these people to not complain. But I can't have this conversation, and quite frankly, I wish my representative, Mr. Williams, was here, because I've had this conversation with the last ECUA people, and we've, as a commissioner, I've tried to do my part. But it's just unacceptable that citizens, it doesn't matter whether you live on Pensacola Beach or whether you live in Brownsville, you pay the same amount of money to flush your toilet, so you should have that same access, and that's to my point. And so I'm open to the plan and want to be supportive of the plan. And one of the reasons, in God we trust, all others sign, and whenever I decide to make votes, I'll be supportive as long as there's money allocated at the same time to address the issues that are important to me. So, and I do appreciate, you have been very, very generous of your time, and I appreciate your help on the Brownsville project.
Sure. Glad to do it. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you. Melissa Pino?
Thank you, Chairman Bender. Melissa Pino, 413 Southeast Boblets. It doesn't matter how many times it gets said on social media that I'm trying to kill this project, because that's just social media. And the truth is, I've been lobbying since the last meeting. I've driven everybody crazy, advocating to get enough money to get this project across the finish line. This project got cost overruns and stalled out, not because of my politicking, but because of two bad procurements back to back. Commissioner Underhill, you yourself said you had a real problem with the way the procurement was handled on the first one. And then after the board directed the previous administrator to split it up so they could share the love among the small vendors, and maybe we could get an accurate idea of how much this actually cost at that time. Because that's what happens when you mess with government procurement. You don't know how much things cost. Instead of doing it to the spirit, she did it to the letter and cut it into 2 phases. And then she forced the vendors that bid on it to bid on both sides, which meant, did you know about this, Commissioner Underhill? It's in the backup. You should have known about it if you didn't. That forced the vendors to be able to bond $15 million on the project. So I finally got some documents back with the assistance of Ms. Rogers, because my procurement PRRs were getting ignored in the procurement office. I've had so much help from Stacy Hayden explaining things and where things are at, and I apologize because the 2 million thing came in on confusion from me because I was playing phone tag trying to figure out how much the vote was for, and I couldn't get a hold of Lois, so I asked Dean Kirshner, who's our District 2 CAC rep, to call someone in ECUA, and he misunderstood Mr. Woody saying they were bringing it up to 2 million and thought he said that they had voted 2 million for it. I handed out the procurement list on the pre-bid. Look at all those companies. Guess why they didn't bid? Because they couldn't afford both sides for $15 million bond. That's why this happened, not because of me and not because of any of these gentlemen up on the board. Everyone is playing nice with this. Everyone is trying to bring money. I support sewer in Brownsville, but we're desperate for projects because everything's gone down to Perdido Key for the multi-use path and Gifton Beach to the condos. Please put forward the 10% of the discretionary, at least in good faith, like the other commissioners are doing. ECUA is here. It's clear how important the project is. So for once, just properly fund a project in your district and get it across the finish line and quit the politicking.
Thank you. Kevin Wade?
Kevin Wade, 413 Southeast Boblets. And from that fun meeting, I'm just going to read this. Didn't bring enough copies, but from that meeting, Doug responds, "This is staff business. It really has nothing to do with anything coming from my office or not coming from my office. But that particular item, number 11, is really just structuring the money to be able to do things. Now, if in fact on the 18th there's a single bidder on the 11 million, it was 11.9. project that quite frankly is, we've been talking about this and admiring it from every angle for a while. I would expect in my preparation for the 18th to have some pretty blunt discussions about why we only had one bidder. I would want to know who else picked up the packets. And I'd want to be able to contact them and say, hey, why didn't you bid? But that's the preparation I would do for the 18th. It really has nothing to do with the item. That's before us today. I said all that knowing that the contract had already been voted on and passed the previous meeting. And that was the fun with, is it a project that's in committee or in the death knells of blackout or whatever came up that day. I want this project. I've been here 30 years, and road widening on Gulf Beach Highway, as well as the sewer projects and other things, these are all things that have been happening. And I want to keep seeing that ball rolling because people were proud of the plans that there were. And thank you.
All right, board, that's our last speaker.
Well, regardless of how things came to be, and I guess we could spend a lot of time talking about that, the first nearly $500,000 that went into this is from my discretionary funds. We all make statements to the public over where our discretionary funds are going to go. And as you approach the end of your time in service, you will realize that you have to, that your opportunity to make good on those promises is coming to a close. The discretionary fund layout here of nearly $500,000 was appropriate way to start this. It was critical in really demonstrating this board's dedication to this project. This is septic to sewer in a traditionally very blue-collar neighborhood. And if you look at Beach Haven 1, what you'll see is our investment in the infrastructure has spurred additional private sector investment. But the amazing thing about Beach Haven and the private sector investment that's going on there is you're not seeing the radical gentrification that you saw downtown. You're seeing a considerable amount of private sector investment in a traditionally blue-collar neighborhood for blue-collar housing. And to me, that's a huge win. And as we've seen we've had some very significant storm events here in the last couple of years since this project, since Beach Haven 1 went through. And while the parking lots at Forest Creek are still getting wet, the carpets aren't. And a lot of that has to do with the massive ponds on North Street that were a big part of Beach Haven 1. We can continue on this path and execute what is a great plan. It was a great plan at 11.98, whatever it was. And it's still a very good plan at the numbers that we have now. Thankfully, we have the resource of the ARPA funds to be able to go ahead and make up that gap and overcome the increase in cost as a result of pulling back what we could have executed on many months ago. So I'm very much in favor of the item as it is presented, and I think it would be a travesty to lose out on this opportunity, as Lois has said. With that, if there's no other comments, I'll go ahead and move the item in the
Looks like
affirmative.
there's Commissioner Berry.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Commissioner Underhill, I think you said the 500,000 last time as well, when it came up for discussion. I don't see that included in the item on the agenda. And I wasn't able to find the 500,000 allocated out of EFAN. I don't know if that exists somewhere in documentation. It hasn't gotten booked anywhere yet, or it's not booked in our system yet. I believe you, and I'll take that in good
It's actually
faith, so.
468, I think it was. It was just shy of $500,000.
Okay, well, while they're chatting about that, Mr. Chairman, the way the procurement was done, again, in my opinion, is not the spirit of the discussion that the board had at length, in the spring. I don't know why. I guess it's conjecture as to why it wasn't done in the way that the board discussed it, or it could have, I think it would have been much more appropriate to be 2 solicitations, considering the fact we processed a change order to break it up into 2 phases. That makes sense. At a minimum, if you're going to, I don't see what the advantage is to using the same solicitation number, the same contract number. Maybe there is some small housekeeping advantage, but at least if you're going to do that, then you, on the invitation to bid on the documents that should come back, there should be a line for the base bid of Phase 2A, as well as a base bid, for the Phase 2B. There should be an estimated cost for Phase 2A and an estimated cost for Phase 2B. That clearly identifies to a contractor or a vendor what the expectation is, and they would be putting then their base bid there, as well as what the expectation is. That clearly articulates to their bonding entity what they're supposed to, what their capacity is to be able to, to be able to bond that job. What the board's intent was, again, I don't think is what went out. We didn't see what the board wanted. What we saw is 3 responses from firms that, are large firms, and, a couple of them I'm, friendly with, and that's great. I'm glad we got more than 1 response. That's a good thing. So that's something that's good. Overall price is, clearly much higher, but, but all 3 responses did include just the 1 aggregate number for their base bid. Within that bid, it was broken out how they composed that number on the 2 phases, and we then chose the low bid of Phase 2A and the low bid of Phase 2B, which ended up being 2 vendors, which I guess that part's a good thing, but again, to me, it doesn't encompass the spirit of, the spirit of what the board talked at length about last time, and I continue to say I would love to see the actions of the board and the spirit of the board's intent reflected in what happens among, among county staff after the meetings. And I have had a bunch of conversations with Wes. I trust that that's going to hopefully happen more frequently, maybe than it has. As far as the funding sources, I mentioned last time, sometimes things just get too expensive, and they just, you get priced out of doing a project, even if you have grant money in hand. You know, our staff believes it's a very valuable project, and they're, you know, they seem to support it greatly. You know, that means something to me. That makes me want to try to figure out a way to do the project. So, you know, I went, you know, going through the EFIN to try to, you know, just kind of estimate what was left from what are 6 allocations of discretionary LOST funds that have been, you know, that have been made to District 2. I was able to ballpark 1.4 that have been either spent or encumbered total prior to this. And if there's, you know, 500,000, then that already committed by the commissioner, then that makes 1.9. Ironically, that leaves 4.1 in 6 $1 million allocations. A full, or that would be very close to full, but 4.1 million being made up for from discretionary LOST District 2. That's the only way that I'd support the project going forward.
Commissioner May?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chips or Joy or any, and mine is certainly on the procurement side. The project went up approximately from the first bid about $4.1 million. What was the increase from the original bid to now?
Joy can answer that better, but I know there was an under drain that was added for the road, so that was part of the increase. And then I think there was a contingency that was also added to that.
So the scope of work changed from the original bid?
With the under drain, that's correct.
And so for me, a project, I mean, in that scope, I mean, I don't know the scheduled values of that scope change on the bid, Joy. I don't know that dollar amount. Do you know that amount?
How much more it was?
The scope change that Chip just referred to?
The scope is the under drain. The under drain was added because we ran into groundwater issues.
Right.
We had unprecedented rainfall from the time Phase 1 happened.
And it would have been a
Phase
change
2.
order anyway, probably, had we started the project.
It could have been.
But what's the value of that? Say what, Chris?
Yes, it was around 600. I got it. 656,203. And that's through all the roadways.
And since the last meeting, y'all kind of leveled the bid and looked at pricing.
I'm sorry?
Y'all looked at the pricing.
Yes, sir. I did the analysis. I sent a copy to everyone,
I got it.
and it shows the differences.
Right. And Joy, let me just say, for the record, great job. You did a great job. Stewardship for me in procurement. It bothers me that a project less than 6 months old goes up $4 million. And so I'm just, maybe that is the price, but I mean, when contractors feel like they have you over a barrel, they sometimes set their price at what they want it to be. And, you know, it's public dollars, and I like the project, and, you know, just tell you, I ain't spent $16 million in all of my, and that has nothing to do with you, Joe, I'm talking to them. I ain't spent $16 million total in sewer throughout my entire district, and that's no disrespect to Beach Haven at all. And so however we go, and if I can be supportive, you know, I'm just gonna ask for a commitment for this amount of money for the Ensley, Brownsville, and Shantytown. And, you know, however we get it, if that means Doug takes discretionary, I'll take discretionary. I think that is important. For me, Robert, we can move this item. Sewer's been absent for a long time. I'd love for Mr. Woody to make sure that he feels comfortable. This is the best price we can do. There's not any in-house things that we can do from ECUA to lessen this price. This is, you know, regardless of where we get the money from, it's still taxpayer dollars where we're getting it. I would like to get the number closer to the original number. And I understand that prices have certainly increased, but in some ways, some prices have decreased. I mean, lumber's gone down, it hadn't gone up. Roofing materials went up, they're back down. I mean, it just depends on when you hit the marketplace. And I just don't know if we're hitting the marketplace at the right time for the right, for the right price. And so, it just, I don't know if the scope should have been broken up into 4 parts, Commissioner Berry, Commissioner, I don't know. But for me, as a steward, to go up an extra $4 million, and as my colleague Underhill has referenced, a blue-collar neighborhood, and I'm certainly going to support blue-collar neighborhoods and underserved neighborhoods, just for the sake of saying we're going to move this project forward to spend an extra $4 million, I do it with a lot of reservations and a lot of hesitation. So, I mean, I'm curious exactly, you know, what the motion will be, but I'm certainly going to ask for assistance in sewer projects that are within District 3, that are in deserving neighborhoods, and I'm certainly going to continue to question, you know, $4 million, I mean, what percentage is that? I can't even, 4%, I mean, 10%, 20%, 35%. That's a high, I mean, I could see 10% increase, you know, I mean, to say 35% increase in piping, and a lot of this is labor work as well. I mean, they didn't give the employees a 35% pay increase. I mean, a lot of this is labor intense.
It's piping.
The piping.
It's sewer piping, water pipe, the plastic pipe, and also stormwater piping.
So are they giving us an itemized bid on materials versus cost, or do we know labor cost versus
Yes,
material
sir.
cost? What's our material cost on the job?
And on the analysis, these are installed costs. It's the material and the installation.
I'm just not looking. I remember reading it, Joy. I just can't. Do you just offhand what was the material cost, Joy, that they presented?
You asked them for Randy?
No, I'm sorry. Either one. I'm saying because I just don't have you send it. And I appreciate it. What was the material cost? That's all I'm saying.
It's not broken down. They bid it installed. So it's the material installed.
Board, I had unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but fortunately, I'm being honored tonight with junior achievement.
Congratulations.
And I appreciate that. And although it started an hour ago, they're getting close to the part that they need me.
The mill's getting cold.
And so I am going to have to depart.
Is there really further discussion on this one, or can we just?
I don't know, but I'm just saying, in general, I mean, if we want to go and take a motion, I'll.
We can take the motion, but for the record, it's too high for me.
Yeah, and I want to, I mean, if we're going to do this now, I'd like to have a moment to weigh in on it, because last time we left, I mean, I said a couple of things. I said it's a good project, I support a project, I support the people, and I support good projects, but, you know, I asked at that meeting about your discretionary funds, and if you'd be willing to up the amount that you're going to put in. I've heard what Commissioner Berry said, and I'm really not opposed to what he said. So have you considered upping the amount? As an example, when my library came in high, I put more money in. I'm at 10%, you know, of that library project out of my discretionary. You know, $468,000 represents, you know, a very small portion of this project. So have you thought more about that, Doug? I mean, how much are you going to put in?
No, Commissioner, I haven't, because I told you that night that I wouldn't. I'm not going to take money out of the Jackson Street Complete Streets, because I promised that we were going to do that. I've got citizens there that you know where to build sidewalks. It's where there's the cow paths where people have to walk in the mud. We're not going to, you know, I said we weren't going to do that, and, you know, so
Yeah, but
that $1 million is set aside for that. Well, it doesn't show up in EFIN, it's not really Commissioner Berry's business to look at my discretionary any more than it is mine to look at yours.
No, I mean, it's all an open book. It's all an open book. No, you're wrong about that.
The whole point behind the discretionary funds is that those are at the discretion of the people who were duly elected to represent the people of that district. I am not going to go after that. I am not, I mean, Lois and I put ECUA staff on designing out exactly what we needed to do to solve the problem for Brownsville commercial sewer to septic, or septic to sewer. Do we now, as we are just about to go to Tallahassee, did I then say, oh yeah, I'm going to renege on this? Maybe you saying that I was going to put my discretionary fund in there. No, I won't renege on ECUA for Brownsville. I won't renege on Jackson Street. I won't renege on any of those promises that I made. And so as we bring those things in, so it's one of those things I made it very clear the last time we spoke that all of that's already spoken for. I already know exactly where all that money is going, with a small amount really that I'm working on with Tim Day on some things.
Yeah, but there's been an interesting twist to that, because now we find out you've got over 4 million in your discretionary. So tell me where it's all spent and how important this project is for you, and explain your unwillingness to put any more into it.
I already have, and you can ask the question 70 times.
Yeah.
The answer is going to be the answer. The answer is not going to change. Now,
You have $4 million
there is-
unprogrammed, Doug.
This was an easy $11.8, $11.9 million project.
Now you're going back to
And
the
all
issue
we
we
had
already
to do-
discussed. Yeah.
All we had to do was agree to that then.
Yeah.
It's never going to be cheaper than it was yesterday. This is the cost of the project. Staff has come to you with a way that we can pay for it.
Well, there's another way we can do it. We can just allocate your money and do it. You want us to do that?
You could certainly take the very
Want me to
radical
do that?
motion of going ahead and breaking a long-standing policy of this board.
I don't do it with great, I would do it with great reservation, but the project is worth it. So I'm giving you the opportunity to do the right thing here.
Well, I am doing the right thing, and that is I'm going to keep the promises that I've made to my constituents. Whether they've been showing up in EFIN or not is sort of irrelevant, and you're taking the unprecedented
I haven't done anything
position.
yet. I haven't done anything yet.
What you're proposing is the unprecedented action of violating what the discretionary funds have been. I don't know that that's ever happened in the course
They
of this
still have to
board.
come to the board. I mean, your conversations with other people, your conversations off this dais are what they are. Your discretionary money still has to come to the board for allocation.
Correct. You're right. My discussions with my constituents, they are exactly what they are, and I won't renege on those things. So, there's never been a time before on this board where commissioners have felt compelled to go after another commissioner's discretionary funds and replace their discretion, his discretion with theirs.
So you've become a victim in the conversation.
I'm not a victim at all. I've never been a victim of anything, my friend.
Well, your perception aside, you've become a victim in this as if you're being treated poorly by your colleagues, when, in fact, you have an opportunity to complete this project. I'm happy to complete the project. Your money is going to go into it to complete it, or then we don't go forward with it, or I'm not going to support going forward with it, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
So that's your choice. That's not your colleague's choice. That's your choice.
The only motion that I'll be supporting is the motion that's on in front of us now, because it was the actions of this board that prevented us from being able to execute this at 11.8, 11.9, and I won't take that out of the pockets of Brownsville and Jackson Street. I just won't do it. So I'm going to make the motion, and for Commissioner Bender, I know that you've got to leave fairly soon. Commissioner May stepped out. I think I know where this goes, but the motion is to move item 10 as presented in the affirmative.
Okay, the motion dies for lack of a second.
How bad do you want this project, man? That's the easy question. How bad do you want this project for your people?
Strong enough to make the motion for what's in the board, what's in the agenda.
But that's not going to get over the line, as you just found out.
Yeah, well, then I'm not going to take away, and I can repeat myself over and over again, but Commissioner Bender's got somewhere to be.
Yeah.
The fact is, I am not going to back money out of anything else that I've already promised to. And I believe it's actually a gross violation of the practices of this board for other commissioners to start getting into what they think a District 2 priority ought to be, as opposed to the commissioner from that district. As we often used to say, that I'll defer to the commissioner from that district, except when we don't. So the motion is what it is. It's failed for lack of a second. I accept that there are consequences to the actions of this board, and sometimes those consequences are very severe.
Chips, can you come to the podium real quick? So 2 weeks ago, I said, look, how much time do we have? And I asked Commissioner Underhill at that point to figure out how much discretionary he had left to kind of make up the shortfall. And at that particular point, I thought it was about $1 million that he had, and come to find out it's over $4 million. It's enough to make up the shortfall. If the board doesn't take action tonight, one way or another, whether with ARPA funds, with general fund money, or with Commissioner Underhill's discretionary, does this project die?
Commissioner, I'm afraid it does, because one of the grant funding sources from the Gulf Coast Ecosystem Restoration Council dates back to 2017.
Mm-hmm.
We've been sitting on that money for 4 years. And that Gulf Coast Ecosystem Restoration Council provides grant funding for all of the Gulf states, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. It was very competitive and we really put our necks on the line to try to get that funding. I don't think their patience is going to last much longer, and that's why I said 2 weeks ago that I felt like tonight that a decision needed to be made.
But if we do this and we get you the money tonight, we can do this project. We got the grant money. If you get this 4.1 or whatever we need left.
Yes, sir. 70% of the funding for this project would be grant funds. That's correct.
Okay. Well, Doug, you can talk about things that are unprecedented up here. I think it's unprecedented, the way you go online and call us crooks, criminals, thieves, unethical. And other people, the general public, I don't care. I've got skin like an alligator, but I have to sit up here with you every time. You and your aide, your intern, your secretary running us down, calling us thieves, calling us corrupt. And so you talk about things that are unprecedented. That's pretty unprecedented, pretty unprofessional, actually. But this project is important, and it's bigger than you and your staff's unprofessional conduct online. So I'm prepared to make a motion here. I'm prepared to make a motion. It could die for a lack of a second, too, because the people deserve this project, despite all the dysfunction coming out of your office. So with that being said, I'm going to make the motion that we complete this project. We do the project with the delta of the funds coming out of Commissioner Underhill's unprogrammed, unexpended discretionary funds. That's my motion.
I can second that motion. I think you probably need to specify a number. And 4.1, if we said 4.1, that would leave 95,000 coming from ARPA. Okay, I can live with that. I'm interested to hear from our colleagues, but I could live with that.
Okay, then I'll amend my motion to match what Commissioner Berry's numbers were. Your second, Stan?
Yeah, and again, it's.
I don't like doing this,
If there's not a lot of support among colleagues, I understand that as well. And if there's support to do something different, I understand that. This is, for the conversation, I mean, this is the only thing that I would support. And, but it's not my thing, but it's, it does appear to be a valuable project to the citizenry.
And quite candidly, Stephen, if Doug would have said, look, I'll put another $1 million in, I'll get to 10%, I would have supported it. But you play poker up here, you see what happens.
So I'll just say, regardless, I don't think I can support it. I think it is a dangerous precedent that you start spending other people's money. I think there are other monies that can be used towards this. I think if it's a good project, you can find those monies, and I would see if we can't wait 2 weeks.
We don't got 2 weeks.
Chips, do we have 2 weeks? I mean, do we have 2 weeks?
I can go back to the council and ask them for 2 more weeks.
I think I'd prefer that and actually have hopefully a legitimate conversation on what other funds are available other than ARPA and general fund dollars for this. With someone who came in with a number of their discretionary dollars already allocated towards a project, it's tough. I think there's other monies that can be found. Unfortunately, there was no effort to find them in the last 2 weeks, but hopefully the next 2 weeks could change that.
Listen, for me, Jeff, I mean, if that's where y'all want to go, I mean, that's fine. It's not my district. That's the most of y'all, I think it's bad stewardship. For me, the 2 weeks that we wasted should have been out to rebid it if you had to break it down again. People said, oh, we bid it at one time and it came back a second bid and that was the price. That's not how you do construction. That's not how you do bidding. You know what? You should have went out for the third time. And all the time that we're wasting trying to find money, the real savings should have been rebidding this to save the taxpayer dollars. And so I'm going to be on record, and listen, I'm going to support blue collar neighborhoods. And Jeff, if this is where y'all moving and y'all want to take it just to make it to happen, that's fine. I'd rather rebid it. I think that's a waste. I think Jeff, we can always have time. I mean, and that's fine. Listen, it ain't my district. It's not for me to sit up here and argue. As Chip said, he can go back. I think that it's a bad precedent that you had a $11 million project and now that's coming in at $16 million. And that is a horrible precedent. And no one, if they were handling their own money, no developer, no builder would allow for a project to come in that high without doing another rebid to make sure that that's the real bid. And the reason you got that number is because people thought that we were in a corner and we were rushed and you got to have it yesterday. Everything is about time, and time. And time is everything in bidding. And so that's just my position. I'm not going to hold up, a project or anything like that. I have a lot of reservations for going this much over the original bid. No different than when Robert had a project to tear something down on Plantation, I had reservations. And I have deep reservations about spending $16 million in this neighborhood. Well, I have a neighborhood that's been hurting. Not a neighborhood, neighborhoods that have been hurting. And we're not there to put that money. So, I want to find the best solution. It's not where we find the money from. It's how do we save the money for the taxpayers. At the end of the day, no matter where we get it from, it's the taxpayers' dollars. And I just don't feel like that's good stewardship.
Commissioner.
And so, but if Jeff, I'm not gonna hold the project. If y'all move the project, I'm gonna support it.
I think there's
But
a
I'm gonna
path
take-
to make it happen starting tonight.
Lumen, I will say this, that an affirmative vote on the action that's before us now will take $500,000 out of the Brownsville commercial septic to sewer, and it will take $1 million out of the Jackson Street complete streets.
And
So
I'm willing to give.
That's what a
the-
yes vote would be on the motion that's
I'm
before us now.
willing to give that if I knew in my heart of hearts
Is that true?
that this was the best bid.
No, that's where, because when you make a motion to spend my discretionary funds somewhere else, understand that that's where 1.5 of those discretionary funds are coming from. Promises that were made, promises were made because they were made here on this dais, and you and I talked about it extensively.
Stephen?
Commissioner Bergosh, based on Commissioner May's comments.
You want to wait 2 weeks?
Maybe we just see where it goes, yeah.
All right,
I mean,
I'll withdraw my motion, and I'll substitute the motion with, we'll drop the project tonight for another 2 weeks. That's my motion.
And what's the direction? So are we coming back here still?
Is there a second?
Yeah, well, you withdraw, I withdrew my second, so that's all.
A second to drop it and come back in 2 weeks.
So we'll
Yeah,
drop
I
it?
second the drop now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Please vote.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So when we're looking at money, and Commissioner Underhill, and obviously I'm not going to get any support. I'm the liberal Democrat. I'm not a conservative. So, yeah, I don't even know why I'm arguing this fiscal position. But I probably will continue to advocate for it. We did on the lawsuit get $8 million that we all have discretionary, right? And so that would be, it's all spent. Well, no, it's going to be replenished. Each one of us.
We didn't spend it. We got the
Correct,
FEMA
Steve.
declaration.
That's discretionary for each one of our districts that we were going to
We
spend.
never spent it.
That's the conversation that the board took. That's certainly the conversation that the board has had amongst ourselves. I've not seen that delineated in that way. The board could certainly take a formal action to delineate that in our system. I've not seen that by itself. I certainly could be
And
The
as far-
oil spill check? The
Yeah,
oil
and as
spill
far as
check.
I were, none of that money's been spent.
Well, it hadn't been spent, doesn't mean it can't be. Well, what
No, I
I'm
know,
saying is,
I'm saying
that
it
in the
should
spirit of what
all be there. I'm
Commissioner,
not aware of anybody that's.
$5 million of it right
No,
after the
but
storm.
we ended up not using it because we got the FEMA declaration.
Jeff,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is,
all right.
because I see exactly where you're going, and I'm going to support it, that would be a part of Commissioner Underhill's discretion that he can do what he wants to do.
Right, yeah.
Well, much like Stephen said, I'm not aware, I haven't seen that money actually come to fruition.
Sure.
If that money does exist,
We got the check.
if that money does exist and we as a board are setting that out discretionary, splitting it up for discretionary spending, I'm willing to put 100% of that, of my discretionary fund, to this project. That way, I don't have to break a promise that I've already made.
Sure. Okay, I'm sorry, I have to leave. Jeff, I just.
So now, Jeff,
Hey, hold on one second, sorry.
You got to get your award,
Jeff,
man.
I just respectfully request that you not take a vote on your discussion item. Your discussion item on the Jazz Fest. Visit Pensacola couldn't be here. I'm having to leave. So I just respectfully request that you don't take a vote. You can discuss it.
I respectfully.
Ask not to have a vote.
Well,
I can't, they've already started the program.
We've got Cadillac.
I know.
Cadillac sat through.
I just asked not to take
No,
a vote.
no, no,
You can have
listen,
a
listen.
discussion.
But, okay, we won't. Listen, Cadillac, we can't do it tonight. Obviously, he's got to go. He's on the TDC out of respect for him. I'm sorry. If I would have known that was going to happen, I would have brought it forward. So, Mr. Administrator, let's add this item to the Tuesday agenda. Cadillac, if you'd like to say some words, but there's no point in doing it.
Do we need to vote on the motion to drop?
Did we take the vote yet? Passed 5-0? I thought it did, yeah.
Yes, sir, it passed 5-0.
Okay, so Cadillac, you're recognized.
Okay.
I apologize.
Good evening.
Yeah,
I
got the
mean,
rug
okay,
just
I
yanked out
understand
from
that. He had to go. You guys been back and forth with each other all night, so,
It's been a long one already.
I mean, I get it.
Can you come back Tuesday and speak with us?
I could, I mean,
And I apologize.
I mean, I done already started some wheels turning. You know, I just need to get some clarification from which direction we're gonna go in with this. Are we gonna do it, or we're not gonna do it? It's just, you know, I've been studying all this stuff for the last 2 or 3 weeks to have some clarity on what's really going on. And I can't wrap my arms around why it's an issue. I mean, I'm just trying to grasp it with that. If the festival is having an impact for Escambia County, you know, when we start talking about tax dollars, I'm always hearing about tax dollars. So I thought about that. Are we spending bed tax dollars that originate in Escambia County, or are we spending bed tax dollars that's being brought in here from people that stay in these hotels outside the county? That's kind of where I started thinking about this.
Okay.
So if we are bringing in this money from people that's coming in here to the festival, or coming in here to Pensacon, or coming in here to Foo Fest, and we are replenishing that bed tax dollar, it shouldn't be a problem. If it was an event that, would you look at the numbers and it wasn't doing anything?
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. And I apologize. We're, you know, tonight, we just kind of got.
Okay.
we
Tuesday?
Tuesday, and we'll get you on the agenda, and we'll let you know.
Would it be an afternoon or the morning?
It'll be a morning. It'll be morning.
That-
It could be
that'd-
the afternoon.
That'll be better.
Set aside some time.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I'd be more than happy to move his item to the front of the agenda based on,
I think
out of
that'd be-
respect for the amount of time that he spent here.
Yeah, and I think that's reasonable. Yeah, we'll
I'm gonna miss you, Doug, because I won't have nobody to argue with no more when you go.
You can always count on a good argument from me.
I know it. We good, man.
I appreciate your
Okay.
patience tonight.
That's fine. That's
All
fine.
right.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
gentlemen. Okay, bye.
Okay, Delana, we're at 28 next. Did we pull 28? Okay, 28 was pulled for discussion, or was it held for some particular reason? The boat ramp?
It was held for speakers.
Okay, speakers. And so where are my speakers? Thank you. All right. Okay. All right, we have speakers, number 28. Melissa Pino. Melissa? I'll be back. Okay. Is that so that's the only one we got? All right. Well, here's the thing. It's great news. It's a boat launch in District 1. It's been a long time coming. You know, I want to move it forward. This is the last hurdle we got, and then pretty soon we're going to see the solicitation go to bid. So it's a fantastic amenity for the west side of Pensacola. So,
Mr. Chairman, unless you want to pass the gavel, I'll be happy to make the motion on your behalf.
oh, please.
Move the item in the affirmative as presented.
Thank you. All right, we got a motion and a second. We got 3 people on the dais, so no further discussion. I'll talk to Melissa about it later. Please vote. All right. Item passes 3-0. It's a big pass. So Melissa Pino sits on the Marine Advisory Committee as my appointee. Yeah, you missed it. We called you, but, you know. Do you want to say something? Go ahead. Yeah, come on. You're
I just wanted
recognized.
to thank staff.
Think the
Thanks,
clock-
Melissa Pino, 413 Southeast Boblets. I'm so lucky that I accidentally sit this board for you when this project that's been going on for years finally passed. And I really wanted to thank Tim Day and Robert Turpin, because when I got the docs out of Horace, it looked like we were going to have to start all over again at the beginning with all of this. And I was like, whoa, what is all this work to do? But Robert and Tim immediately got on it and realized there was some incorrect boilerplate and some other stuff, and so yay, it's moving
It's a
forward.
huge project. It's a big
great.
win. And I hate it that it got buried at the end of the agenda after all these other sidebar discussions and stuff, but it is going to be a great project. Okay, so we're going up to 32 is the next thing that we pulled. 32 is a discussion concerning approval of price increases for the custodial services. This was pulled for discussion. Commissioner Berry, did you have an issue? I thought Commissioner May. Is he still here? He's on a phone call. Okay. Well then, let's see, what else do we have on here? That was the last item that we were holding, correct? All right.
We'll just move to the county attorney's report. Or, I mean, discussion first.
Yeah. Okay, let me move forward to that. Okay, we'll come back to that. We'll double back and come back to that. All right, moving forward to discussion items. We'll go one by one. Number 1, recommendation concerning the Director of Waste Services. Wes Marino, you're
Yeah,
recommended.
Mr. Chairman, I just asking the board to confirm and ratify the hiring of Mr. Donald Seitz as our new Waste Services Department Director. with an annual salary of $134,7803 and a $400 monthly car allowance and up to $5,000 of relocation expenses. He currently manages 5 to 7 landfills around the Houston area. He has an intense background in landfill management. He is a professional engineer, and he brings a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. And as we move forward with our landfill, with the need to expand, he is going to be crucial to have on board to move us in that direction.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move that that the board confirm Director Moreno's hiring of Mr. Donald Seitz in the role of Waste Services Department Director, and welcome Mr. Seitz to the team with our blessings.
Okay, that's your motion. Do we have a second?
I have a second in the question. Wes, the monthly car stop, is that universal? Is that just what everybody gets?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want that to be consistent.
All right, any further discussion on this item? We've got a motion and a second. Please vote. All right, congratulations, Wes. The item passes 4-0 with Commissioner Bender off the dais. Okay, now we're gonna double back and finish up Part 2. Commissioner May, you had stepped out, but we pulled number 32 for you to discuss it. The custodial increases.
Yeah, I'm not going to support it.
Okay.
I mean, and we did do good raises for our staff, but you know, when I build a house, no one tells me that the lumber goes up. If I sign the contract, if it goes up, it goes down. I just think that we're opening up a can of worms, whether it be for guys who are cleaning lots who have contracts, or whether, you know, gas is going up, or whether we're doing it for sidewalk contractors who put in sidewalks. And so it would just be a challenge for me to support that.
Before we take action on that, can I just make a point? I read the backup on this and the food item as well from the jail, and the contract had a clause that said, look, if something out of the ordinary happens in terms of the pricing, and they exercised that. And I thought it was reasonable reading the backup, looking at all the increases of the food items, and this may not necessarily be exactly similar, but I think all these purveyors are getting crushed with this wage push inflation, the inflation of the cost of their
And I
products.
agree, Jeff, and you know, and I'm not saying that I wouldn't ever support it.
Sure.
I'm saying that I've heard even from other vendors who also would want to increase. And I think once we start opening it up, I think one thing, you know, if they want to give us a breakdown of materials or those things, and if they've really given employees raises, you know, it would have to be, but for me to blanket support it and not support, you know, an increase in all contracts or, you know,
Okay, well,
removal, I mean, it would just be a challenge. I'm not going to fall on, as you often say, I'm not going to fall on the hill about it.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just, you know, and I'm not saying I wouldn't look at it later, but I think we just got to look all around. We need to look at the tenure and how long these contracts, before we rebid this anyway, can we rebid it? I mean, and obviously, I know that it's going up.
Yeah.
And I do, quite frankly, I do have concerns as it relates to some of our facilities.
well, I mean, when you print trillions of dollars, that's why we're paying gas $3.30 or whatever it is
Yeah,
now.
it's all-
Okay, so the chair would entertain a motion on this one.
Inclination to drop it, is that the inclination? I move to drop it, move to drop the item.
Can I get a second? Sure. Okay, so we got a motion and a second. Motion to drop, please vote. Okay, all right, that concludes that report. Okay, so we're going to jump back. Sorry, Delana. We're just kind of jumping back around. Okay, we're now at CAR 3 discussion number 2, legislative wish list. Commissioner Bender, since he's not here, gentlemen, I would entertain a motion to drop and bring this back so that he can be a part of that discussion.
Yeah, so moved.
All right. Okay, we have a motion.
So,
Yeah. Do I have a speaker on?
yeah.
Gentlemen, before we take that vote, we did have a speaker on that item. So, Mr. Krupnik, we are obviously going to table this because out of deference to Commissioner Bender, since he's not here, Did you still want to speak? You're welcome to. You're welcome to if you'd like. Okay, yeah, sure, go right ahead, and then we'll take our vote.
I'll deal with my own wish list. You know what I mean?
Okay, let's hear it.
Or excluded, one way or the other.
All right.
So, yeah, Charles Krupnik, 14500 River Road, Pensacola, and speaking as an Escambia County resident. And I hope this is an appropriate forum to discuss this. Yeah, an issue that is surely to come up in the Florida legislative session, as it has in recent years, is to remove local government authority to regulate vacation rentals. Okay. I'm not personally aware of places in Escambia County or the city of Pensacola that provide such regulations, but it seems an important power to retain at the local level and would be an overreach by Tallahassee, in my view, to remove that. The worst case, looking at past proposed legislation, would remove the ability of homeowner and condo associations to regulate rental periods, and this would be extremely unfortunate. The idea of removing local control comes in part from lobbying efforts by large vacation rental corporations like Airbnb and Vrbo to increase the availability of rental property and also to have just one regulatory authority to deal with instead of a bunch of local authorities. And Florida legislature would probably have a pretty light touch. Perdido Key, where I live, has many vacation rentals. They are a good way for someone to own property on or near the beach, rent it in the summer and snowbird season, and then visit the property themselves when vacant. Most of the large beachfront condominiums do this, and they're very close to being hotels. I mean, you go there, it's hard to tell the difference sometimes, with their amenities and weekly exchange of patrons. It's a particularly good service for family vacationers. But if you're a resident and you don't want to live near a vacation rental, you would like to be able to keep that status. I don't live on the beach, but our condo has 1 month minimum of rentals. And so those who rent are pretty much full-time residents. Some condos on the beach have similar restrictions. And this is what their residents want. They do not want the noise and parking hassle of weekly rentals. Those who purchase private homes can have the similar concerns about their neighborhoods. The Arbor Gate subdivision on Perdido Key that I looked at about 10 years ago to be a private home now has vacation rentals, and they have parking problems, crowding problems at their amenities. And this is from an ad that I just looked at this afternoon. Rent in a 4-bedroom on Arbor Gate that sleeps 16. This is the kind of overloads you get when you have short-term vacation rentals in residential neighborhoods. So if appropriate, I request that you include on the county's wish list to the legislature a provision that any bill not put forward to remove local control of that you oppose any bill put forward to remove local control of vacation rentals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krupnik, and I'm aware that there's going to be a local ordinance brought forward here, I'm certain, in the next month or so to kind of address some of those concerns at the local level. And I do know that the legislature initially conscripted a lot of our ability or took away, foreclosed on our ability locally, but they've since loosened up a little bit. So I think we will have some control, and I think there's a lot of folks who agree with you. They would like us to be able, at the local level, to be able to control that. So I think you more than likely, you probably have support on that. So. And we will discuss that next Tuesday, I'm sure, when Commissioner Bender's back.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. We did have a motion and a second? Or did we have a second?
I did not hear the second, Mr. Chair.
Look, we got 3 people on that. Any problem with me seconding motions?
You can second a motion.
Okay. Well, some places, some people. All right. So he's got a motion. I second it. Any further discussion? Oh, I thought you would have. Did you? Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, just if you could be on standby for that. Any other discussion on that? All right. Please vote. All right, motion to drop it passes 3-0. Okay, gentlemen, obviously Cadillac Banks has left, and we are going to, the chair would entertain a recommendation.
Move to drop, or I'm sorry, move to reschedule to Tuesday.
Second, all right. Any further discussion? Okay, please vote. Yeah, Allison, there's interpretations that the chair can actually make a motion, but some boards don't like that. I mean, you read the Roberts rules, rules, some
The-
people interpret it
The
differently.
board's policy says that you use Robert's rules or any other rules as the
Well, we
board
don't.
sees fit.
We don't
So-
follow it, so.
Right, so as long as the
exactly.
majority of you agrees that you're governing yourselves accordingly, then it's fine.
Maybe it's better.
No, so traditionally what we've said is that the chairman
Pass the
can't make the motion, but that the chairman can second a motion. We have allowed that before. I mean, I don't prefer it, but we have done it before. I don't like it if the chairman makes the motion itself. We typically pass the gavel for that.
Right.
Okay,
All right, so item number 4, gentlemen, have we already voted to drop this?
Yes.
We've already voted to drop it. Okay, so now we're at the county attorney's report. Allison, you're recognized.
there are just 2 items remaining. The first item is the settlement agreement to memorialize the terms of that with Leeward subdivision. I see Mr. Dunaway and at least one of his clients are present to ensure the vote, and I can answer any questions if necessary.
As long as they're not signed up to speak or feel a need to speak, I move the items A and B.
Okay. Second? Any further discussion? Please vote. Item passes 3-0 with Commissioners Underhill and Commissioners Bender off the dais. Did we, Delana, this is kind of choppy. I kind of took over halfway through. Did we cover everything?
No, we got one more item.
We got one more item.
Yeah.
Yes.
The discussion.
There's a
And-
discussion item regarding a return of $43,500 from the Century Chamber of Commerce for a small business development program in Century.
Okay.
The proposal from Commissioner Barry is to reallocate those funds, which we do now have back from them, and reallocate them to Florida West with an attendant miscellaneous appropriations agreement to run that program.
For the same purpose, in the same, under the same terms. 4. Yeah, under all the same terms, for whatever reason, we're unable to get the program deployed through the Chamber of Commerce, and perhaps I'll be more successful in this endeavor. So I make that motion, A, B, and C, please.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. All right, passes unanimously with Commissioner Bender.
And 2 will be on Tuesday. You guys already voted for that.
Does that complete your report? All right, does that complete our agenda?
Jeff?
Yes. Anything for the good? Yep.
Yeah, I mean, just because, we've had wasted hours of our life on the same Beach Haven issue that, at some point, we had to come to a landing, and I'm going to be supportive of your motion, of the discretionary. I certainly don't want to hurt, my Jackson Street projects, but if I had my way, obviously, we'd be looking at how do you reduce that bid and negotiating at that price, I mean, honestly.
Well,
But if not, I mean, are we looking to say, to divide the 8 million up and take the rest from Commissioner Underhill's
I think we-
discretionary?
I
I just
think-
want to find a landing as well.
Yeah, and if I can make a couple suggestions. First, I think we saw some positive forward motion when he, right before he left, committed to spending that when we find it. But number 2, if we take the motion as I presented it, anything that he had committed or said he was going to do, we have ARPA funds, and I guarantee you'll have my support for those ARPA funds, which would be an allowable use for the projects, the Brownsville sewer. What were the 2 projects he was crowing about? The Brownsville, what was he?
Jackson
I'm not
Street
going to
was
do
my
it.
biggest
Well, guess
concern.
what? If he pulls his money, you'll have my support to put the ARPA in there. So don't let him play chicken.
It was Jackson, there was a
Yeah,
Jackson.
don't let him play
Street-
chicken with
There was
you.
a Jackson Street issue, Commissioner Bergosh, and it is a public meeting. I continue with my opinion, for this item, all of that money is going to have to come from somewhere else, not from ARPA.
We had the motion and a second.
For it to move forward, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't. That's okay, but that's the only way that I'm going to end up supporting the project.
And I appreciate that. And I would say to the people who live there and the people who support this project, we're trying. We're trying up here, and we're trying to be reasonable.
And Jeff, I brought the 8 million up because we loaned it off to Hurricane, but we should be getting our Hurricane money in, not just for his project, but I want to get that money on the ground for your projects, my
Yes,
projects,
sir.
and all of them. So I would hope that we figure out where that money
Well,
is.
Let me ask you gentlemen this, since, again, we never get to talk, and here we are. if we can find a way to maybe encourage Commissioner Underhill to voluntarily put some money, and you heard what I said, and it's true, Stephen, I would have done that if he would have upped his commitment to $1 million. But that deal's off the table, all right? Now we're back to square one again. And so if I make that motion again and Commissioner May supports it, that project can go forward. But Commissioner Berry, I would ask you this, though. If that leaves Commissioner May short in Brownsville and Jackson Street, would you be supportive of ARPA money to?
Oh, you know the answer to that. Of course I would be.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, all I'm saying, Jeff, and
So we got
and everybody's
multiple-
gone, I would have this discussion. I mean, obviously, we're on television. Is
Yeah.
that, I have a commitment to these underserved existing neighborhoods as well. And so Beach Haven is very important, but these other neighborhoods are important, and they've suffered for it's generational poverty. They've
Yes, sir.
suffered for not one lifetime. I mean, unfortunately, it was lack of leadership that allowed for these neighborhoods to get beat up. And so whenever I vote $16 million for something that costs $12 million, I'm not going to look my constituents in the eye without knowing that I fought tooth and nail to make sure that they got some of the same amenities.
well, that goes without saying, and the only, I guess the only.
And that was one of my reluctancies.
Yeah.
I mean, because, and it's great to say, oh, we'll do it in the future, but, some kind of way, the future gets clouded up, and it just never happens. And so if it's that important and ECUA want to make a commitment, they make a commitment, we make a commitment, and we're all happy. I mean, a good negotiation is nobody gets everything they want.
Ain't that the truth? Look at our redistricting. But,
Gosh, what he mentioned tonight, I believe, was a gross number of 1.5, was 500 towards something, $1 million towards something else. Those both sound like projects that Commissioner May is supportive of. That would incline me to be supportive of it. That would also be encompassed if we, I know that we took an action to front to utilize that $8 million if needed. I believe we got the declaration the next day. If I recall the timing from last year, it was, if not the next day, it might have been 2 days later. It was very, very soon. So I don't know. I don't remember seeing that necessarily move.
We got to research that.
Yeah, we might, but
figure that out.
if I am relatively certain that although we discussed it, that we didn't actually take a vote, make a motion to make the 1.6 to each of us. But if we memorialized that conversation into an action, that would cover the 1.5 that he had mentioned. And there you go.
Well, there you go. Well, wait a minute. Now, out of your discretionaries, I guess. Oh, okay. Yeah, no. I thought I misunderstood. I thought
He
you
had
were-
committed that he had promised that to those residents, and that 1.6 would cover those
would cover that.
promises.
No,
he's
you're
made.
absolutely right. No, I misunderstood, but you're right. So we have multiple different ways to get everything done that we need to do, and I'm glad we had this extra discussion. Yeah, and Chips, well, I do too, but man, I mean, what are you going to do? But Chips, you think this project is still doable in 2 weeks? Okay, all right. We tried. I tried to get it over the line tonight, but I think we got a way to get it over the line in 2 weeks. So
I mean, what we could right now, we could allocate $16 million for
We
Brownsville
could.
sewer right now.
you want? I'm the chair. I can't make a motion. The chair would entertain a motion.
I mean, I would just like to have a commitment to the sewer projects in Brownsville, our oldest neighborhood, one of the most historic neighborhoods. It has nothing to do with race or anything, but it's the bedrock of Escambia County. I mean, people from across the world have heard of Brownsville, and it has, like, no matter how much we do with traffic calming and the millions of dollars that FDOT's put there, until we take sewer there, we're killing the economic development. We're killing the vibrance of that community.
Well, and I think you found support. You've got, I believe, I heard support and 3 votes for your project. So I would take that, and
I appreciate it.
yeah,
Mr. Chairman.
you can count on it. All right. Any other discussion?
Don't we change guards next meeting for?
Couple week and a half. Yeah, I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to roll.
And then the following week is when we change the guard to 16.
Yes, sir. No, I've got a new arrangement. I'm going to have him sit between you and Lumen, if that's all right.
So
No, we're going to move it down. Yeah. I don't know. I might. How about if I put him between you two? We're gonna move it down just as normal, right, Wes? I'm just kind of.
Yeah, I saw it. Unless you disagree, it was going to be
That's fine.
1, 2, and then 3, 5, and then Robert will come here.
Yep.
How'd
that's-
that work?
Yeah, just like that.
Because Commissioner Underhill will be your vice chair.
Yeah, yeah, you're just moving one seat to the left.
Be great. Y'all can play thumb twiddle all night.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. All right, any further discussion? We're adjourned.